Oh my goodness. If you couldn't tell already, we were having an amazing time backstage. Hello. Oh, I got to make sure I got to turn this sound down. Hey, thank you so much for joining us tonight for Podcasters Live. When I tell you, I have been looking forward to this live stream, this episode, because of the two guys that I have on here tonight. I bust their chops so much on their live stream. I know that they're going to bust me tonight and they are just going to get after me. But we're going to be talking about gear. Does it really matter? And if it does, what's the right gear for you? We'll be right back in a sec. All righty. Well, welcome to Podcasters Live. I'm your host, Steve Worthy. Our goal with Podcasters Live is to help podcasters understand the craft of live streaming so that they can grow their audience through discoverability via live. So excited to be with you guys tonight. We are going to jump right in. I had some other stuff planned that I was going to kind of do, but I got these guys backstage and they're heckling. They heckled a mess out of me. I heckled them, and we are going to have some fun. These two guys here. Do you guys know them? Mr. John Ryan and J.A. Smith? If you don't know them, tonight you will get to know them more so about their journey in live streaming and also with YouTube as well. How we met, I don't know if you care about that, but we do. And we got a really good audience here tonight. So I am, without further ado, I'm going to come in and just bring these two guys in, and then we'll separate them out and talk to a little bit more about who they are. What's going on, fellas?
Yo.
Yo, this is the worst green room I've ever been in.
There we go, man. I got to do it again. Man, this has been long overdue. Man,
Is it
good to be here.
It's good to be here.
Not long enough.
I know. What do you say? What, Jeff?
Oh, I'm just saying. Are you sure? Because I feel like we could have gone maybe a couple more months without this.
He's very negative tonight.
Maybe we jumped the gun just a little bit on our friendships.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Well, hey, we're gonna go one at a time, real quick, and then we're gonna get into the comments here in a second. Here, John, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, what you do, and then we're gonna go to J.A.
So my name is John from Coffee Talk and Tech. And basically, I started a YouTube channel about a year and a half ago, and I was able to get monetized. And my whole idea of my channel is to broaden people's horizons with YouTube and live streaming gear that's suitable to your particular needs. And so we talk about different levels, where you can start, where you can exceed, where you can make those little 1% differences to take you to the next level, depending on what you're possibly trying to achieve. And then we also talk about our YouTube goals all the time and about how to beat the system a little bit and what it takes to get to the next level and get those 4,000 hours and to get that 1,000 subscribers and what it might entail. And so that's what my channel is about.
Excellent. Mr. J.A., the drummer, Smith.
Yeah, my trip here is a little weird. John knows, but so quick hit, my weird background. I got out of business school. I decided to start a llama farm. I did that for 12 years, and then decided to be a gigging and touring drummer for 20 more years. Along the way, really fell in love with tech and started a side company with some friends in tech. COVID hit, and then I decided, you know what, maybe music's not going to work out for a while. So I get into this creativity, and I love this, and it feeds something I really enjoy, which is a journey, wonderment, and working with people on, yes, tech, of course. But as John and I talk about, I really enjoy the inner tech, and I love the tools, but I really love discussing how we're going to use those tools from an emotional standpoint, from a logistical standpoint, and a productivity standpoint. That's something that I really love to talk about, is productivity. So my channel does have tech, but it's also about journey and productivity and the inner side of what we're trying to do here.
Excellent, dude. Excellent, man. I appreciate you guys sharing that because
Yeah.
as I was talking to John a little offline, you know, one of the things I want to do tonight is kind of set the foundation because the people that are in the audience and people are going to look at this on a replay, they're podcasters, content creators, and they're thinking about either, you know, how can they actually expand their audience, or how can they actually not just monetize, but actually how can they get a little bit better at what they're doing. And
Yeah.
so tonight I cannot think of two better people to talk about gear, and we're going to be talking about that here shortly too. I just want to make sure I acknowledge everybody that's out here tonight as well too. Hello guys, how are you doing? I don't know who that is. I think that's that's Junaid. Gear matters only when you've got your story
Story
down. That's true. We're gonna talk about that
That is true.
as well. This is going to be a good one. It is because, you know, not because of JA, but you know, but because
Well,
of
I'm
John.
pulling the anchor.
Yeah, you know, JA will do what he'll do what he needs to do. He'll do what he needs to do.
Yeah, he'll. I'm a water boy of this stream.
MD Pickard, how are you doing? I checked out one of your videos the other day, and I love what you do. So I appreciate you stopping by here as well too.
Hey, Shay.
Yeah. Oh, so you got that's what I got to get. John,
Yeah.
John, that's what you do a really good job of, man. Is like knowing the actual names, right, of people.
Well,
that lets me know that you pay attention to your community.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, because we spend time in the community. Like, I don't just go and check out a little bit of their stuff. We make friends, and that's part of what I love about YouTube so much.
That's actually
Jen.
Jens. Hey, wow, love the red, Steve. Hey, John. Hey, Jeff. And who's this guy? I don't even know who this guy is. He's a troll.
Ban.
Can somebody block this guy?
Yeah.
And some,
Never had like that.
Bethany, you know, we may talk about it. I hope you talk about Sony Dynamic Stereo headphones because they are life. Oh, okay. We'll talk about some headphones and stuff like that as well too. We got a whole list of things that we're going to be talking about. Steve Worthy, woohoo! Hey, I appreciate you, whoever you are out there. If you want to click that button. Oh, best of things that we're going to be talking about. Oh, what's that?
Where's that feeding?
I don't know. Oh, was that one of you guys? That was probably was. That's
Let it
okay.
go.
All right, biggest fan. Thank you so much. Biggest fan of who? Are you biggest fan of me, or are you one of these guys up there? Because I am their fan as well. Just want to know who's you're a big fan of as well too. So I know. Let me know.
If he says like, you know, George Clooney,
Yeah.
that's gonna be a weird answer.
That would be, yeah, you know, Batman.
Wrong
Like
screen, brother. What do you do?
what does that
super-
mean? What are you talking about? You're a big fan of who? You know,
I'm a big fan. Do you guys know Cashew?
Yeah. She's a moderator. They're a moderator for you, right?
Yes.
I don't know. She's like a godsend. I don't know, but she's here. She's saying hi. How are you, Cashew?
Oh, is she? Okay, good.
She just shows up, man.
I will get in there. What's going on? Super excited about this episode, but I need to break up Amazon soon. Oh, okay. No worries. No worries at all. No worries at all.
I know the feeling.
That.
I know the feeling.
Yeah. Look at these hands. Oh, thanks, Matt.
Oh, Matt. I hope.
I mean, pick your favorite though. Well, who's
Matt,
the most?
I hope your son is doing better. Also, I know what's going on. So.
Oh, okay, good though. What's going on, Cassie? How are you?
Hi.
So I'm so glad you joined. I'm so glad you joined. I really am. I really am. There we go. Sorry about that. Thank you for that. I had no sound. Switching scenes in Ecamm, it messed up my sound. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. That's why we have a good
viewers
audience.
As the sound went down. So I mean, you know.
Say again?
He says you're picking up viewers as there was no sound.
You
That's
came into
incredible.
my stream and started calling. You started telling everybody I had a mullet. So don't, you know, I'm coming here to return the favor tonight.
He's not too, I told you guys at the beginning he was gonna mess with me, and
Puts
he's
heat
gonna
on you.
jack me up. Thank you so much, guys. We got the sound. It was when I switched scenes in Ecamm, it messed me up a little bit. I appreciate that. Thanks for the love. So, fellas, walk us through. Give us your rationale, like why you guys started. Your live streaming your YouTube channel. And JA, I'm gonna start with you because then we're gonna get into some gear.
Why I started? Yeah, we John and I did travel in like many stories into different paths into this whole environment. I never intended to go down this path, and so I was up until March. The day before the story is the day before they closed everything down in 2020. Um, I did I was doing a theater show in New York. I kid you not, without a joke, that album I was doing was called Shelter in Place. That was the name of the album. Yeah, that did not play out well during the course of what happened, right? And I have a hat over there somewhere, so Shelter in Place from that album. But we came home, and as we all know, I don't need to recast it. There was nothing to do, and it was chaos. And like many people that ended up into COVID, we all ended up in chaos. And where there's chaos, there's opportunity. And it takes a minute. I was kind of just, what am I going to do? I want to have an outlet, but we don't have one. And I'd always been supportive of other people's journeys. And I never put myself as captain of my own ship. And I thought, I'm not really comfortable with it, but maybe now is where I take that chance. And I'm still not ultimately that comfortable with it, but I'm enjoying it. And so I kind of muddled around, and then I was playing around with different things in technology, doing some Q&As with some drummer friends. And then I did that stream with you guys, or that course, LSP course with you guys,
Yeah, yeah.
and things kind of just picked up. But I think inherently I realized that I love wonderment. My whole path of life has been never taking that what you would think would be the normal path. And so, you get your business degrees, and the minute I came out, my friend of mine's like, let's start a llama farm. So then we did a llama farm for 12 years. Then it's like, oh, there's somebody who wants a drummer to tour with. Oh, okay, let's do that. And so I did that. I did that. And so I've never taken the normal path because I just like excitement of different things. But this was something that kind of just spoke to me as time went on. I just thought this is an interesting outlet.
Hmm.
It's business in a way. It's creative marketing, and it's people networking, and it pushes your own limits of all these things we have to deal with. So I think for me, it just spoke to me about um, the challenge. There's a challenge to this, but also a creative challenge that I think really I wanted to take a part of and take a run at it. And I've enjoyed every second of it.
Excellent. And everybody's paying attention to what you just said, JA, but I think there's one thing that they probably took away from all of this, and it's the llama farm. You said a whole
Well,
bunch of
I
great stuff.
apologize for that.
You
I
said a whole
apologize.
bunch of great stuff, dude. But I'm quite sure it's like, the hell's a llama farm? I
It
want
was
to
a
know
long
Yeah,
about
that's
the
what they
alpaca
llama
usually
farm.
say. They're like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
know. I'm so
Exactly.
used to it. I'm so used to it. To me, it's very natural. And
Hmm.
so I don't think about it. But yeah, we had 300 llamas and alpacas. We also had Bactrian and dromedary camels at one point, and went to South America and imported some animals. So it was a full on big operation that we got into. We started with 3 animals, and by the time I left, we had 400. And I loved them, and I love my time there. And I look back at that fondly. They're lovely animals. Um, but yeah, you're right. If you could say you could cure cancer, and they're like, you had a llama farm.
Yeah, you
Um,
can. You can be like, hey, I have the cure for cancer. Hold it for a second. Hold for a
what?
second. Hold for a
Yeah,
second. You
that's
you just
fine.
said you had a llama farm, but here's the one thing here's why I bring that up is because of course we have Sherry Jones in the house, and so she was on my other stream, and we were talking about branding and bringing
Yeah,
yourself into your brand, into kind of who you are. And I
yeah,
think the interesting part, the part I love about it is because you play upon that when you're actually doing your live stream, the whole llama thing. And I thought it was a joke until I heard you say that you actually had a farm. And I was like, oh, this is so dope. This dude
It's
brings
not a
it
joke.
in to kind of who he is. So I just wanted to say that, and I wanted to appreciate that about you.
yeah. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's
It,
important, and it's good that you value that. I think people should bring that in. And at first, I'm like, oh, people will probably like, you're a weird dude, but it is part of what I am, and it's part of, again, just expressing we all take our paths. and we just find your wonderment. And YouTube is so about that. It's not easy, but I kind of viewed it like that. But yeah, it's part of who I am, so I just go with it.
I think we
Appreciate
used it to our advantage too, because
we
we
have.
just had fun with it during our
Yeah.
live streams, because people saw me being like, "Are we going to talk about llamas again?" And they would be like, they would push
God,
it because it would aggravate me, and he'd be laughing, Jeff be
yeah,
laughing, so it'd be funny.
yeah. We poked John about it, because
Well,
John
I
is
wanted
like,
to put this up here because this is the most important post, comment of the night. So
oh,
I just wanted to put that on there.
I
So
see
I just
a family member came in for you. That's nice.
Yeah, it's definitely a family member,
Probably married
right?
to you.
yeah, I just wanted to put yeah. I
Little
just
ringer.
wanted to put that up there as well too. So
Yeah,
oh,
that's
all
good.
right, Janae. Thank you so much for hopping over here to YouTube as well. Thank you. I really appreciate that as well. Got a lot of good stuff. Um, Steve sounds it's just come on. See, I didn't listen to me. I don't tell people what to say. I
Right.
don't. And I love it. Thank you so much. Steve sounds really good. Not sure if it's his mic or it's just
Both.
you guys. You guys answer that for you guys know me.
Yeah,
I
so I
won't.
sent Jen and told her to write this word for word just before the stream. And so thank you. And
Copy and paste.
so first of all, Steve's got a great voice to begin with. He takes his audio seriously. And he always uses a good mic, and he's so close to the mic. He knows being within the proximity range is going to give the best sound of the mic. And right now, Jeff and I are using out of shot mics. So we don't have a mic visible in the shot.
Mhm.
So it's definitely not going to sound as good as Steve's would. But we've been messing with this and trying to perfect our mics because we want to be able to use these in YouTube videos and interviews. Also, along with the other mics that we currently do have that you guys seen me use a lot of, right? So this is an RE320. Jeff's got one. But we're trying to perfect some of the things that we're using. But Steve always sounds good, and he
He does.
prides himself on it. So
Thank you. And,
He should.
and Bethany, I don't like you. I'm gonna cut you off. She says, "Pay attention
Bethany
to your
Pro
guests.
saying you're the
Stop
best. Yeah,
creating." You know
yeah,
what,
Bethany.
Bethany? I'm done with you. I'm done with you.
Unsubscribe, Bethany. You
I'm
don't want
done
to
with
be
you.
wrong, dude.
Well, John, man, coffee talk and tech. That has kind of taken on a world of its own. You have recently become monetized.
thank you.
Great job with that, because you're almost kind of not, I won't say accidental, right? Because you said I didn't plan on doing any of this stuff. I was just kind of
No,
messing around, and here we are. Tell everybody a
yeah.
little bit about your journey real quick before we get into some gear.
This journey is I'm gonna sum it up together pretty fast, but it's going back really to 2008. I wanted to start a YouTube channel, and it was gonna be about motorcycles. It was gonna be about driving the best motorcycles, my opinions on them, my reviews. And the thing that stopped me from getting started back in 2008 was the tech. It was just cumbersome. I didn't know how to work my way around it. It was always something that was a challenge to get the footage correctly, and I just could never bring myself to do it. And so years go by, we get ourselves into the situation that we've been in for a couple years. My son has been asking to make a YouTube channel. I make a YouTube channel for my son. I put it together for him. I named it. We did live streams. He's done some videos. He's been editing. And I said, maybe it's my time right now. Maybe it's my time to start. And then, so I said, let me give myself a chance. My son motivated me to get his channel started. I said, let me jump into this and do what I've been wanting to do a long time. I've been interested in tech. I used to overclock and build computers in the late 90s. I had a lot of tech related things that I was doing that I stepped away from for years and years. And then I jumped back into this. And I think one of the most brilliant things that I was so lucky to come across was naming my YouTube channel. I
Mm,
just, I didn't spend a lot of time on it, but I know that I didn't want to pigeonhole myself with
yeah,
just tech. And I
yeah.
was like, I love coffee, so it is true. I absolutely love coffee. So I said, let's make it Coffee Talk, because in the Northeast and a
Yes.
lot of places in the US, right? Coffee Talk is, let's just have a discussion about
Yeah.
something over
Agreed.
coffee. And so throw the tech in there and throw YouTube in, throw streaming in. I mean, Jeff and I could talk 5 hours about this stuff.
And you have.
And we have.
And you
Yeah.
have.
Yeah. We go back, we reverse, right, to this past April. I was sitting in front of my computer after discussing walking in the mall with my wife, saying that I need to start this live streaming thing. I started the YouTube. I was making a video every week for 4 or 5 months straight. And I was like, I need to start this live streaming. I know it's something I could want to do. I knew what it was going to be like, and I knew this is only going to grow over time. And so she's like, you got to do it. Just put your foot down, get it done, and start doing it. So April 1st, I was like, I'm live streaming. That's my first night. I don't care. Then all of a sudden, I'm like, I joined a live streaming group at the same exact time, the same day. And I was like, this is over my head. This is too much to do. And if you go back and look at my video from April 1st, that was my first beginning of my first live stream with Coffee Talk and Tech, being consecutive and weekly with it. And we've gone 9 months now, until last week when I was out for being under the weather for the first time. 8, 9 months, we were doing two streams a week, Jeff and I,
Mm,
and with the other streams that I actually do on the side by myself too. So it's been hundreds of hours of streaming, no doubt.
hundreds of hours of streaming. But
Hundreds.
it
Oh,
has
right.
been like, so we all met in Lita, right?
Yep.
Live each and every day in April of
April
last
and
year.
August. Yeah.
That's
Yep.
crazy. I mean, so it'll be a year coming up in this April. And here's the cool part, was because that was my first time actually like doing like live streaming
Mhm.
for that, that amount of time, for 30 days straight, went live.
Right.
And when I came into the group, you know how you gravitate to certain people, and just their presence, how they carry themselves, what they may say, all these things. And several people are actually, Mommy Lala, of course, is here.
Right.
But then yourself and Jeff, right? Just always stood out. And then the connection that we made when you started commenting on my videos, and back and forth, and we were doing it. And then it was just, it created this kind of like kindred spirit. I was like, man, I feel like I could have went to high school with these dudes.
Yeah.
Yep.
How did you
Yeah.
get? Yeah, go ahead, John.
Yeah. I mean, I felt that way with Jeff right off the bat, and you. But Jeff met a lot of people. Jeff was probably more sociable in that group than I was. Um, a lot of times, I'm in groups because of different reasons, and it wasn't because I needed a shoulder to lean on anybody. So I
Hmm.
wasn't
Hmm.
looking for that. Whereas a lot of people were trying to get started and trying to find their answers, where I was doing already. I was just I already decided on April 1st I was going to do, and I don't look and compare or any of that type of stuff. So Jeff said, "Oh, you got to talk to Steve," or he's actually one that introduced me to a couple other people
Yeah.
that were in that group. Because I think that a lot of times with groups, you got to be careful. You can get lost within those groups and
Yeah.
never move outside that circle. And you gotta make sure you're there for the right reasons, and it's for you to expand. And then if you take some friendships along the way afterwards, then that's a plus. And the thing is, you have to be intent with looking for the right connections. Like when I saw Steve and I saw Jeff, I'm like, these guys are brand new to streaming like me. There's a lot of relatability.
Yeah.
You were
Yeah.
starting your homework already.
Yeah.
You were putting things together. You were spending the time, and we were all in that group already, where I thought we were really accelerated ahead of the curve of most people at that point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Lita ended up, you're right, John, in that Lita is a microcosm of what Facebook world is. And ultimately, you have to pick and choose. You can't be friends with everybody as much as you'd like to. You can't go into every stream, and you try to support. But at the end of the day, you're also trying to improve yourself. And
Hmm.
so we all got those stories about we're trying to support everybody and reach out. So, and we're thinning ourselves out to the point our own products, our own brand is starting to degenerate, and the return is not, it's not efficient. All right. So diminishing returns on our investment for other people. And that's a tricky thing because we think the more we do, the better we do. So
Right.
John's right on that, you really have to be, and that's what's great about something like the LSP program was, it kind of brought some awareness to that.
Correct.
And
Correct.
and then you found out in this little pool, yeah, these are the kind of people maybe that are fit in my tribe. I mean, we can't be in everybody's tribe, and not everybody fits in everybody's tribe. You can respect and you can, be courteous, but it doesn't mean you're necessarily going to be a part or they're going to be part of your tribe, right? So,
Right.
Yeah.
that's a good training ground for something like that, I think. As
No,
long as
that's and that's a great segue to community, right? I promise we're
right,
going to get the gear people. This is a live stream. We got to set the foundation, because this all builds on itself. I want to get to, because you talked about tribe. You used that word tribe, and I completely love that word. And I don't think enough people talk about it when they are trying to build live streaming community, YouTube channel, podcast, all these things. Everybody they want to grow and grow and grow. I get it, but what about community? And I think that's just such a lost art. I think that's one of the things that you guys do really well. And I love the whole idea of coffee talk and tech, because now you can sit down and actually just have a chat about something, but you're still going to end up talking to some degree, which I think you typically do end up talking about technology and YouTube
Yeah.
and channel growth and all these other things.
Yeah.
So John, kind of starting with you, were you intentional about growing your community, or was it just kind of an outcropping of kind of who you are?
Well, it's definitely a lot of who I am. I am very much an extrovert. I do well in group situations. I had no fear in live streaming at all. I didn't find it difficult. I didn't think it was overwhelming. I knew I wanted to get better and grow, but it's kind of like when you just put your nose to the grindstone and do what it takes to start a YouTube channel, which is make videos and live stream. If you just stay true to those actions, then people surround you and then people start showing up in the live streams. And if you're making sense and helping people with their pain points. And when streaming started, it was like, well, how can I stream affordably? What can I
Yeah,
do?
yeah,
What cameras are going to allow me to do that? Is this audio going to be good enough for me? How do I use the Elgato 4K cam link? How do I use my phone? How do I use StreamYard?
mm,
What's the other softwares that are available to me? I have a PC, I have a Mac. What should I do? And so if you're just there and you're solving people's pain points along the way with having a personality that's approachable, and that was my clue. Like,
yeah,
I wanted to give these things to people. I wanted to show them that they can stream and they could start using these tools for their businesses even. So I've been on Facebook in groups in my local boroughs and towns just talking about how small community businesses could use live streaming in a time of when their businesses are slowing down and they can't have the great crowds in their restaurants. Well, if you get on Facebook and you can talk to the crowd, the town, and let them know you're still open and you're serving food and this is our specials, and you make connections with people,
mm,
that increases your sales.
yeah,
And then those little things can really make a big difference in connecting with your community, and community doesn't forget. And so I was trying to do these things from day one and make those connections, and um, people just stood by me. And actually people stood by me for different reasons too, Steve. So
yeah,
as time
yeah,
goes on, you find out all those answers of why, who stays with you for what reasons, and you sort those things out. But one thing about me is positive energy is everything for me. I cannot carry negative energy, and so I will clear the houses first before I carry negative energy forward with anything I do. And so that was my goal from day one. And wherever it took me, it took me. But I never thought the connections that I would make on YouTube would be so awesome, because along the way, I've really met some really great people, really inspiring people too. So
Like, well, like you met JA, right? I don't necessarily think he's inspiring, but
It's an interesting.
he's
It's an
he's all
interesting.
he's all right.
He's all
Um,
right.
yeah, I met
Interesting
JA,
word.
I
It's an
met
interesting
you.
word that you bring in, inspire, because for 10 years, leading up to a couple years ago, I was part of a project, it was called Ideas to Inspire, and we would pick 5 schools around the country, and we would do a 5-week program with these junior high kids to write lyrics, create songs, and eventually, over that 5 weeks period, play their instruments and do a multi-track recording. And then we would do a video of their song. And so the idea is to inspire. I really enjoyed that. I found that was such a great fertile training ground for teaching, not just teaching, but being part of something that was a collective collaboration. And I really enjoyed that. So when I came into the YouTube, I really didn't have a plan for community. I just, with musicians, you'll find that their favorite times are sitting around a table. You get your best conversations. You
yeah,
talk about coffee, but have a meal, sit around a table. You'll get to them with the best music. We'll have 10 people. You get some great music, great discussions. That's where you build your band's connection, really. And that's kind of what I wanted to do here. I don't have a necessarily a tech. John and I are a little bit different. I don't have as deep
yeah.
a passion as John has. I have a love of tech to get things done because I'm a big fan of productivity and moving things forward, whatever you're trying to do in life. And as somebody, for me, not to get back into this, but I've had huge battles with anxiety and depression that I've had to really work out of. And there were certain types of people who got me through that.
Mm,
So I think I do. When John and I kid about this, but I think I'm really, really sensitive to that. I just am. And so I can see a lot of anxiety in the chat. I can see a lot of anxiety in
mm,
the people who are trying to get themselves past these friction points in this process, which is very difficult. John does it in ways that are because he's so supportive and so good about getting them past that tech stuff. And then we try to meld a lot of the inner tech because so much what we
mm.
do is inside. So the inner tech are what we try to do. And I love that. And so I think
All right.
that's why John and I really had
Hold
such a
up,
great
hold up,
time
hold up.
in community. Yeah.
Intertech, intertech,
Yeah.
intertech. We'll talk about that for a second because that just hit me.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a phrase I coined early on. What we coined early on in our streams, we're trying to explain that John's like more outer tech, I'm more inner tech, and then we try to explain what that means. And the inner tech is all that. It's about emotional based obstacles. It's about anxiety. It's about the issues we deal with when we're trying not to compare ourselves to other people and build these walls that artificially are built in our minds. So there is that tech in there because there are methods to deal with these obstacles, just like there are ways to deal with getting better lighting for better camera shots or finding better software to make better um, editing, recordings. And, so there's so much to this that I actually believe if you're not really tapped into the inner side of what this project is, it really doesn't almost matter about the gear you have because I think you're going to sort of leave a lot of that on the floor and you're not going to maximize that if you don't address some of the inner side of your tech and
Good. I
approach
think we talk about that
Dude.
more
Mm,
than the tech itself
mm,
because we just we have noticed from day one that people get so caught up on tech and they
it.
think that having something new, something better is going to make their YouTube channel better. And it isn't. You're missing the ride and the journey if you're not if you're trying to skip a bunch of stuff. And so
yeah,
if you're
yeah,
trying to
yeah.
skip things because, hey, I'm gonna just I'm gonna do something so I can get to that end faster. Okay, but when you get to the end and you reach that goal, if you've jumped across a bunch of different thresholds, then you're missing the point. And a lot of people do that. And so if you're not learning how to use your camera and you're not making a video and you started live streaming and you want to grow your YouTube channel, but you don't know how to do videos, you're not going to be utilizing your YouTube channel the way you want it to. I mean, even to the point where we had a discussion about customizing the front of your YouTube channel, right? And
Yeah.
so people don't realize a lot of things that are out there. And Steve, YouTube is hard, man. I
Yeah.
mean, you're your sound
Yeah.
guy, you're your video guy, you're your
Yes.
editing guy, you're your promoter, you're your inner confidence person,
Yeah.
like I
Like a
feel like I'm
coach.
my own therapist too on top of it. And then I got to be then I have
I
to be
feel
Jeff's therapist at the same time. It's just
you know, it
it's
happens.
unbelievable. And then
Yeah.
I gotta walk him off the llama
Yeah.
ledge.
And then he
But it's
burps me when I'm done eating. It's
but
amazing.
really though, Steve, is that we see these people, okay? You have no business moving up the ladder if you don't know how to set the exposure on your camera.
Mm, mm,
And you're
mm.
hurting yourself and you're looking for the answers, and the answers are right in front of you. And I've seen people not take a hold of the potential that is out there for them and just think that they're going to skip over these little journeys, but they're not. It's going to come back to bite them, and it does.
Well, here's why, and this is exactly why I wanted us to lay the foundation, because I know everybody's, oh, we're gonna jump right into tech, you know, and no, we will talk about. I mean, so gear. We will
That's
talk
the
about the
point.
gear.
Yeah.
We will talk about the gear, but the inner tech, the emotional side of who you are. I talk all the time. You guys know me. I talk a lot about leadership, and one of the first things that I always deal with is the inner person and who you are. And
Right.
because you're like your tech, your gear is only as good as you are, right?
That's it.
Your goals that you set for 2022 are only as good as you are, right? And then so if you're not sort of whole to some degree, it doesn't really matter what the gear may be, because your content and everything else is going to be diluted because it's coming because of the source. And so when we start to talk about the tech and the gear that we'll get into, it just enhances. It should
Right.
enhance, right? Whatever it is that you're trying to get across to your audience. But I'm so stoked that you guys brought up, and someone else enjoyed it too. They said, the thank you for mentioning anxiety and depression. It is a real mental framework that prevents a lot of people from going live. 100%. And and that's why we started Podcasters Live. It wasn't so much just for us to teach people how to go live as a podcaster, but it's also that I can't go anywhere without talking about coaching and leadership and help them as a whole person, because if I don't do that, I feel like I'm not doing anybody any justice. And I think
Yeah.
both of you are living examples of that, because you know how many freaking streams I've seen of you guys. There hasn't been one that you haven't talked to some degree about the inner tech and helping somebody kind of overcome that aspect of it. So I just want to say I appreciate you guys for doing that and being who you are as well.
Thank you. Appreciate
Yeah.
that.
And
You
I
know,
think it's knowing what works for you though too. It's not everybody's meant to be a live streamer. Not everybody is. You have to find your thresholds on things, and so you could be accenting the live streaming to your videos,
correct.
or but you got to have that plan ahead, right? And we were talking about this last night, Jeff and I, actually, which is my biggest thing is, I mean, even if you have that inkling you want to start a YouTube channel, it's just start making the videos now. Don't wait for the answer of the YouTube channel. Don't wait for trying to figure out everything. I don't care how bad it is, just make the videos and put them up and start executing, because it doesn't have to be the channel that you're moving forward with. You can name it anything and just
Yeah.
put videos out,
Yeah.
because you need to start making videos. People, they fall into live streaming because, oh, I don't want to edit. I don't want to do the other things that videos entail. And this is simple for me. I set up my camera, I live stream. First of all, it's simple if you're going to just stay where you are on ground
Yeah.
zero. If
Yeah.
you want to get good at live streaming, Steve, and you got to work on your overlays, your camera angles, your up, bring it to a pro level. It's tons of work and actually a super lot of energy along the way,
Yeah.
live streaming.
Yeah.
And I've even heard people like Alpha Gaming, right, which is one of the biggest channels that's out here about talking about live streaming, he was saying that live streaming 6 hours a week feels like almost 40 hours of work
Mm,
because of the energy it takes out of
And that's
you
where we're
to
at right
live
now. I
stream.
mean, we're probably doing, at least up to now, we've been doing 3 hours on each channel almost every week
Yeah.
since May, and it does grind you. Like
yeah.
I mean, he may have to even do more content than us, and I can imagine. But and to John's point too, one other thing about that whole approach, John brings up a point of just I get get a little put off by the whole just hit record vibe.
Mm,
Right.
That's fine. I think it leaves out so much nuance, especially for new people, that it just totally sidesteps a lot of potential minefields. In theory, I get it, and what John's saying is good, and because what he's saying is don't overthink, because there's a difference between having anxiety and overthinking. I
yeah.
have
Right.
both.
Mm,
And I'm lucky to have people around me that I trust, like John, that will say you're overthinking, and or whatever. And it's important to have those people around to balance you out. You don't want the same kind of people around. But and to that case, if you don't have anxiety, you're right. Then don't overthink it. Get
Right.
into there. But then if you have anxiety, then we have a different issue. But all these things, they need to be talked about. I'm not saying they should be talked about more. I don't know really how much YouTube really talks about it, but I
hmm
do think
hmm
that we see a lot of these quick hit hacks through getting started on YouTube, and they sidestep a lot of the stuff that's going to keep you. You're going to buy $10,000 of gear, you're going to buy their $5,000 course, and you're going to sit there and stare at unboxed in your basement because you have anxiety
mm.
and you
Yeah.
can't even imagine
You
cutting
haven't
that
even gotten
thing open
past
and
that.
starting.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
many
And then,
people
yeah.
buy
And you,
cameras?
yeah. And you see,
And
yeah. And you see somebody with all the gear and you think that's
Right.
what's going
And
to,
then I
that's what's
see
going to help
somebody,
you.
I
And
think it
it's
was MD
not.
Picker, who says, start with what you have. And that's what more John and I lean into that. That is so important. We always say, if you want to progress, then you always should push your way to progress. Now,
yeah.
everybody wants to progress after a point, but man, we are over selling people on what they need to start with. I don't think you learn as much if you try to go buy the most expensive
Yeah.
gear and then feel overwhelmed and then get over, you haven't even dealt with John saying, get the videos done. You're skipping too many steps
So
if you
that's
try to
that's
do
what I
those.
find though is you either have the people that are skipping the beginning or they get traction and they're not ready for success.
Mm,
Okay? So they
mm,
get traction and then they lack the ability to start with these upgrades that they already should have made. And so and it's really what a lot of people, it's one of their biggest failures to success is not ready for a successful video that
correct.
does well. And
Right.
how do you accentuate upon it? How do you build
Capitalize.
upon it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I also see a lot of people where I'm like, their content has so much potential. And what is it, Steve? We talk about first impressions, right? That's
Yeah.
all we
Yeah.
always say. First impressions, they mean
Yeah.
so much. They mean so much. But then we go and say, oh, well, don't rush into the tech. Okay, but there's a fine line.
There
Okay,
is.
if you got one chance to sound decent, then it's more important that you sound decent than upgrade your camera to $1,000 camera. Okay. I want to walk into a live stream where I don't hear an echo that I can't listen to a live stream for more than 30 minutes because
What I love is
literally it will start hurting your ears.
what I love is John really did a great job of segueing from that. Your question of the stream is gear important, essentially?
Yeah.
And the
Right.
question we have is, it is, but the answer is, it is, but. And I think, but dot dot dot, and then we've explained a lot of what we think the but is, but then John gets into the right of the meat of it. But it is important. Like, if you really want first impressions, once you've crossed some thresholds of some inner evaluation, then he's right on. Then you start getting into what I think is really important too, some basics, good audio
Yeah.
over great visual, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
yeah.
the audio could, I mean, I've done it. How many times have we done it, Jeff, where I've used my phone, Steve.
Yeah.
I've come on the live
Yeah.
stream. I'm using my phone, but all I do is have $100 audio interface and $100 mic. Okay. And it sounds impeccable with a pod mic and a Scarlett Solo. Right. And then you just have your phone and people will listen to you for hours.
Uh, I mean, guys, you have hit upon so many things, and I want to make sure that we're gonna talk about some specific pieces of gear,
Mhm.
and then also kind of address it and bring it back to some of the things that you guys have spoken about. But real quick, if since we're talking about YouTube, one of the things I've noticed with the channel is that we get a lot of people who are not subscribed to our YouTube channel that actually watch our videos. So if you are actually looking at this on YouTube right now, I ask that you just take the moment, take the time to go ahead and subscribe to our channel. We would love it. We're trying to reach a certain threshold and continue to grow our channel as best as we possibly can. So if you're not on our YouTube channel, go ahead and swing on over there, Podcasters Live, and actually go ahead and subscribe and like this video. And we're going to get to that here in a second after we talk about it's gear talk, dude. It's time for some gear. So we laid the foundation for everybody.
Yeah.
We talked about the context of understanding the inner tech of who you are and what it is that your content is going to stand for. What are you going to stand for? We talked about not skipping any steps as it relates to one, understanding who you are, understanding to start kind of where you are with your gear, and just go ahead and start that video out there. I think the majority of some of the people that are listening to this have probably already started and they have some measure of gear and they're probably thinking about upgrading it, right? We talked about that. Yeah, the question is does gear matter? It does, right? But as I always say, the right gear matters more, right?
Right.
Because you can get all the gear in the world, man. I mean, and John and Jeff, when we talked about this all the time, especially when we were both we were starting this stuff up. We got so enamored with certain things and Rodecaster Pro and right, we were talking about that. Does that fit your use case? Because I think I want to set the foundation too for everything that we talk about is your
Right.
use case. So when we start talking about, like, I want to start with lighting, and then we can talk about lighting, and then go into cameras. I know everybody want to talk about audio. Audio is the beast, but I think I want to talk about lighting as well. John, do you mind talking a little bit about kind of like your lighting setup, and then how does that accentuate kind of your message?
Well, I just upgraded my lighting recently this past month, and so if you look behind me, there's a lot going on now because I do have 37-inch soft boxes. I have a lantern right here made by Nan Light, and I have Amaron lights, which is really top quality lighting. But it's a soft light on me. But here's the thing, the ring light is what everybody starts with, and you can see I have this old one sometimes that I use for just lighting up my desk over the top, but now I really don't need it considering that I have a good overhead camera also. But the lighting is really important. It's something that I skipped from the beginning, and I spent money on lights that weren't adequate. And I actually have some Dasney D50s that Jeff and I always talk about, and using those for my desktop was my biggest upgrade in the beginning when I started my YouTube channel. I actually, Steve, have them right here. Hold on. I could just show a little bit of this panel light, right? That and I've gone over this a lot of times where I've talked about these lights, and this is not a whole LED panel, okay? These are edge lit lights. They're LED lights that light up along this whole edge and then light up this whole panel, which gives you a softer light, but not a light like, say, a soft box does. So this giant light is on the side of me, and you can see how soft that light is for how big it is still, and which casts a very soft light and accentuates and it wraps around your face also. And so that kind of lighting is a big upgrade, but it's cost, right? But something like two of these on your desktop, you can get these for around $175. It was one of the best single upgrades I could make. And the great thing was we've talked about these lights also for a lot of different groups like eBay resellers,
Yeah.
or people that are just wanting to use these also, because you can attach batteries to these, and then you can take these and you can use this for B-roll over a desk, or you can light up a room while you're recording, and you could take these on the gun and use them for photography also and for thumbnails. So those were a great upgrade for a cheaper sense. And then also, I'm to the point right now where the lighting here is a big upgrade at this point. But the choices that you have now with Amaron lighting, if you're looking for a pretty pro setup for a content creator, look at the Amaron lighting systems that Aperture makes. And everybody knows Aperture. They're a great lighting company. And this is their content creator use right now is Amaron is the name of the company. And they were on sale. I picked them up, and right now this lantern is usually something that you would a lot of times hang above you, and this gives you a 360 light, but it can be used in different scenario cases. But this lights up more of a whole ambient area,
Hmm.
whereas this is more directional, and you can see when the grid is on there too, it is more directional light. And but they are both soft lights, and it's also part of the reason why I have the ability to look up and not have reflections in my glasses too, Steve,
Correct.
which is a big deal. But
Go
we
back. Go
can.
back to that picture, to that shot. So what size softbox with the grid is
So
that?
this is a 36 inch. It's made by Angler. It's a boom box, they call it. And it's called an umbrella boom box, an umbrella soft box. And the thing is that's different. A parabolic soft box, which is what everybody gets. And I think they make a mistake of getting it. And the parabolics, a lot of times, they have 16 individual rods that have to be
Correct.
positioned.
Correct.
And yes, and so the idea is that most people have sold them a bag of goods, thinking that if you get a parabolic, it's deeper, it's going to cast a softer light. For the most part, there's some truth to that, but it's overrated. And it was way better choice to get a soft box that acts like an umbrella. So I could literally close and open this thing in about 45 seconds. And this makes it usable. And we talk about usability all the time. If you're buying products that you're going to have a tough time using, you're not going to use them, you're not going to create. One of my biggest things was buying a gimbal, Steve. I bought a gimbal
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
early on. I set it up one time, never used it again, sold it for half the price, right? So those are the things that I'm trying to avoid nowadays, where I'm getting a product and it makes more sense if you're going to open it up and use these products versus fighting against it. And I know myself, it makes more sense than having an umbrella box that opens and closes. We talked about this, Jeff, and
Yeah.
versus putting in 16 different rods just to move a parabolic box. And I got these soft boxes, Steve. It will blow you away with the grid for $100.
Get out of here. And that's 30.
So
It says 36 inches.
that's a 36-inch angular boom box from B&H with a Amaron 100D light that's probably 16% right now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing. Because we can talk. We can get into cameras here in a second too. But that's awesome, man. I love that. I love that price point. We got some people out here who are loving the setup, loving the lighting, no glare, or no harsh lights. 100% agree with that. It looks outstanding. Some people say I need to work on getting the glare on my glasses. How do you do that, John? Since and Jeff will ask that too for you.
Yeah, I mean the thing when I got my when we got these Stasnies, okay, I made the same mistake as everybody when you get a panel light like this. I thought by angle it at 45-degree angle and have it shining at a 45-degree angle was the best way. It is a good way. First, getting it high is one thing, and angling it at 45 degrees I thought was the best thing. But the
Mm-hmm.
problem is you still get a little bit of harshness from the lighting. So I learned that what I want to do is actually spread this light out more into the room a little bit.
Right.
But there's a lot of different techniques. And so sometimes people don't want to light up the room. Sometimes they want to light up their room. So there's different techniques, but having a 45-degree angle on your desktop a little bit high
Yeah.
is the first key to get started. That would be number one.
Excellent. 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 Hey, Jeff, you want to move into some of your lighting? Talk about that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't I can't shoot a different angle because
all right.
my E-Mix was not playing well with Ecamm.
That is all right.
but it's okay, because the truth of it is, John and I have extremely similar sensibilities with lighting. In fact, I own the same Dasneys. I already got the umbrella softbox here, and I'm going to get the Amaron light here in the next week, because they are, I think, for me, it's probably going to be an end game lighting, because I don't really need a whole lot.
Yeah.
John, do you remember these by chance? These little
Oh
deals?
yeah,
yeah.
I still have them.
I remember when you
still have
I
'em.
remember when you broke those out a while ago.
Yeah,
The little newers are like, I don't know, $30 for like 2 or something like that. And you had the little
they're
button,
50
and you
bucks
put the
now,
little.
but they were 30 bucks back when we bought them. Yep.
And at the time, I mean, again, that gets back to the thing. They were really cheap. I got 2 of them, no frills. You had to put the little gels in them, which melted because it got so hot.
I started with
And
those too.
yeah, and I think they're a beautiful way to train yourself to work with them. I used them with $19 jellycomb cameras, because they didn't have any Logitechs, and they were absolutely horrible little cameras. Well, they did the job, but I learned so much from having to deal with not much. And what you realize, like John's saying about audio, I learned so quick about lighting and the importance of lighting on any camera that you use. So the Dasneys, same thing. I use a combination right now. I don't know. Can I do a quick screen share? Is that going to mess you up if I do that, or is
Uh,
that going to be a?
no, so go ahead and try. Go ahead
Let me
for it.
just. All right. Let me throw just because I can't move my camera around at all.
Nope,
So
it is
yeah.
all good.
All right.
Let me-
So just only because it's a little bit different than what John's using. I'm using. So I got the Dasneys like John, and then I went to the Mount Dog softbox lightings.
Uh-oh. Go ahead.
Okay. And they were like $70 when I bought them for the 2. And, they're like 27 inches, I think. So they're not quite as big as what John has. I think John has the perfect size. That's what I would like to get. And so my lighting up here is like John. I have it up pretty much in the same angles on both of them. So there's really not a whole lot to tell. It is the way to do. I have glasses. And I was having a whole lot of problem. You don't have to worry about it. If
No, I got you. I got you. Go for it.
Do I need to click something?
Nope. I thought it was me. I thought I'm trying to get I'm trying to pull you next to your other camera.
Steve wants to have 2 pictures of him.
Yeah, no, I don't.
I understand.
No.
More Steve.
No, I
please.
don't.
More Steve's is the answer.
No, I
He's
don't.
like the lead singer. I just need more of me. I don't really care about this sound check otherwise.
I do care about it. There we go. See? There we go.
So, they're the standard softboxes. I have to tell you, as much as I love the Dasneys, and these are not much frill, but they really do cast a much more softer light than the Dasneys. I'm currently using a mixture because I found a look I like and I have one behind me for kind of a separation light and a hair light. So, but I'm anxious to get what John has. I think that as you upgrade your game, you find that joy.
Yeah.
So I'm looking to get the same Amarans and go that route as well.
Remember, the Amarons weren't even available, too long ago. So they've come into play the last year.
Correct.
And it's by Aperture taking note that they need to get in the game of having a price range for content creators.
Correct.
To buy equipment, because they're professional equipment. The professional photographers and are using this equipment, but no one can spend $1,000 on a light. So now you could pick up an amazing light for $170. I picked these up for each, and I have 3 of them, and they're outstanding. So and the reason that companies are doing these things is because they're realizing that this creator economy is growing by the billions, and they need to get their foot in the door and do things. And part of the reason why we're so ambitious about telling people about live streaming and podcasting, for the same reasons, because we know that there's a big future ahead for people that get involved now at this point. So
no, 100%. And I gotta apologize to some people over here on YouTube. The YouTube thing aren't pulling up over here, and the comments aren't pulling up. It's just a lot of the Facebook are pulling up, or else I would put all of your comments. And there's a lot. Here we go. It looks like it's actually starting to pull up right now. From YouTube. So yeah, we got a lot of good people, a lot of great comments over here in YouTube. I just wanted to acknowledge everybody. Mr. Dan C. Bearded said, this is his first time on my on the channel. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for being here. Nick, what's on? Ken, Mr. Content Coach as well. And then Cher is still in there, and Jen is still in there as well too. Just wanted to acknowledge you guys, because It is
Great people.
they're not pulling over here right now. So, all right. So, well, thank you guys for the lighting piece. For me was probably, and it's still. I won't say it's a work in progress still. I think I'm always trying to figure out how to, do something different with with my lighting. Because I also this is a sit stand desk, and so a lot of times when I do a live stream too, so if I'm standing up, I do a lot of my
Yeah.
retail leadership stuff standing up, and then the lighting changes as well too.
Yeah.
And so you have to kind of adjust for that. That's first world streamer problems. My bad. I mean, I know people
Yeah.
just have I
Poor
know.
guy has to stand up when his lighting got all messed up. Poor guy. He
I
had to
just
pull it
caught
down and twist
I
it.
caught myself as I was saying, and I'm like, just nobody cares.
This is not
Nobody.
going to land well.
Thank you guys for holding me. This is why I appreciate these guys. They
Oh,
will call me.
you're in a
They
little
will
swath right here.
they will call me. They will call me on my stuff. All right. So we talked about lighting. Let's talk about um let's talk about cameras. Let's talk
Hmm.
about cameras, man. Cameras
When we
are
talk about cameras, we got to realize that the lighting is where you should be spending your money first, though, guys. So,
boom.
um, get the lighting first because every camera is going to need good lighting to begin with. And if you want to get the most, and we talk about this all the time, getting the most out of what you have is getting the good lighting to get the most out of that $50 webcam. That Logitech will look 100% better with adequate lighting. And so let's work on that first. And then the cameras, God, we can go on for days about cameras because um, they've come such a long way in the last 2 years. Uh, when we go into cameras, I mean, you want to talk about webcams
Well,
and you want to
I
talk
want to
about
talk about
crop sensors.
where did you start and where are you now? Because I think that's probably the most important part is that to understand like where did you start because everybody starts somewhere. And I put something
Camera
in the
journey.
in the community where I
Yeah.
started with my iMac
Oh,
camera,
yeah.
and then
Oh,
and
okay.
that was like perfect. So I started with the iMac, and then from there now I've built up to what I currently have here. But it goes back to what you guys said. You start with what you have, and then as you figure out your use case, you start to expand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll start with Jeff. Walk us through like when you first started, and because I think if I'm not mistaken, I want to say it was the A5100. Um,
Well, yeah, the joke of it is I've never had a quality camera like that, right? So I was really quite under. That's not my area. My area was in music and sound and recording, so I knew that, but cameras were just a mystery to me. I could barely get my webcam, white balance. So actually, what I did was I fired up OBS, tried to figure out what that was, and realized, hey, I could connect a bunch of cameras and multi-angle. So again, I went and bought three $19 Jellycam HD cameras, and I started with that, and that taught me a whole lot. And I used
yeah,
light to figure it out, and I figured out what white balance exposure was happening, and then I went on eBay and bought a used um, 5100 from Sony, and stock camera lens and everything, right? So the kit, and that's great. What a bounce, and yet it didn't look like I wanted, but I was learning a ton because again, you're trying to get so much out of something that has limitations because
right,
everything kind of has a limitation, right? And then my next journey was to kind of go, where do I go from here? John had a great Canon MD52 or whatever, and I Mark II, and I thought, oh, that looks great, but I'm already in the Sony world. I did a lot of fretting over this thing, and I ended up getting a Sony A6400. That was probably my biggest purchase, my biggest nervous purchase. And so that's what I'm using here, and I love it. And for what it's worth, and I do have the Sig. Of course, I'm using the Sigma 16 millimeter that everybody has in this industry. But and
yeah,
so now my next one is to figure out what's my next go grab and go camera. Is it going to be the 10, the Z10 Sony, or the ZV1? So I'm in that world now. So that's my next thing is how do I now take it from I have a really good camera, but how do I find a camera now that fits my production flow
correct.
and is going to make things more efficient for me? So I'm past that. So there is an arc to this journey and story. This is a storyline, right? And I feel like if you do it right, you feel comfortable where you're at and you don't feel like you've overstepped and fallen into areas that are not working for you. So is it working for you? It is working for me, but I spend a lot of time and talk to a lot of people, and you have to do that. Don't jump into things. So that's kind of my camera journey. I know John had a little more
Yeah.
background than I did, and that may have helped him
Yeah, I have
as he
a
went.
more of a I took photography in high school,
Hmm.
and so
Mm.
when I came over to 2010 and my son was born, I wanted to get a digital camera. So we got this digital camera, and I barely used it. And then my wife was using it, and she used it so much she started a photography business.
I
And
remember that.
by
I remember that
2000,
story.
yeah, and then by 2015, we bought a Canon 5D Mark III, which was a top of the line camera pretty much back then in 2014 ish, around there. And so photography was our main focus with that. And we used that for years. We built some lenses in the kit and everything. And she was doing photography. Come to like 2 years ago, I upgraded that 5D Mark III with a Canon EOS R full frame camera,
Hmm.
which is an outstanding camera for what it is. And I would never get a full frame if it wasn't for being able to sell at the right time and then pick up a newer camera for a great deal. And so I started with that, but I didn't want to have a $3,000, $4,000 setup all the time for my camera to be used all the time. The lens was expensive. I didn't want to take a chance of messing around with planting things here and there when you're trying to start YouTube. So I ended up buying a Canon M50, the regular M50,
Hmm.
which you have to set up manual focus to stream. And me and one other person were one of the main focuses on YouTube at that time. A lady by the name of Diana Gadney
Uh-huh.
was
Uh-huh.
looking for a way to live stream with her M50. And
Yeah.
me and her at the same exact time were looking for the answers
Yeah.
to be able to live stream with this camera. And I found my own way, which was, I feel, the best way to live stream with the M50, because I was stuck with it. I didn't know I wanted a live stream. I didn't know it didn't have a clean HDMI. I didn't even know what a clean HDMI
You're
was.
right.
You know
Right.
what I mean? I didn't know if it was like, I had no clue. So it was, I realized that, okay, I got to make the use of this camera. And my first videos, I used the kit lens and then upgraded to a 22 millimeter lens, and a couple other lenses that I adapted to it, and used that camera for a while. And
Yeah.
now finally, fast forward, because there's a lot of cameras in between, Steve. I I I went from a Canon M50 Mark II, and the people, we talk about this a lot, and we've gone down this route. We've talked about it for hours about I don't think at all anything is cookie cutter. Different people react to tech in different ways. And when you look at a Canon menu system, it's definitely more approachable than a Sony menu system. And for somebody that's trying to learn tech, sometimes that's easier for them.
Correct.
So I always point it out: go to the store, check the menu systems, look at it, touch the screen. But when you get to a certain point, and we talked about when you evolve, it's got to be the right time to go for an upgrade. And at that point, I realized picking up some Sony cameras, because I wanted to have 120 frames per second with autofocus. I wanted to have 4K and be able to stream in 4K. So there's reasons for the upgrades. But right now, you're looking at a ZV E10 in front of me. That's my main camera that I'll use all the time,
Yeah.
with a Sigma 16 millimeter. And the side picture is an A64. Oh, that's my ZV. This is my ZV1, my
Hmm.
ZV1 over the top. And then the side profile is an A6400. And then this back picture is the Canon camera with a 24 to 70 millimeter L lens. So those are the four cameras that I'm using right now, and I don't have a reason to upgrade really at this point, because the crop sensors are amazing.
Yeah.
They do a great job, and the Sony cameras are definitely better in low light situations. Um, and I'm very happy with the Sonys. I just wish that, there was a couple
Here it comes.
upgrades, but I can't. There's no perfect camera. We know that.
No,
So
there's no perfect camera. You have to get, Cher says on YouTube, she talks about it's all about, the right gear for you, right? So she started with the Logitech,
the
C920.
920.
Like,
Yeah.
I think a lot of us did. And I mean, so when I upgraded from the iMac, I went to a C920, and actually, like this view right here is a C920 that I have right
Yep.
that I have here, and then this one is an Anchor. These are both webcams. Both of these are webcams that I current
Yeah,
that
they're
that
great
that I
buttons.
that I
Mhm.
have. And then this one when I want to get fancy, then and I this is the Sony ZVE10 over here on this side. Of course, in the lighting, I need to get the lighting correct or whatever, just because, I'm using the main one, and the main one is A6400, and I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. It pretty much sits here
Same.
whenever I
Yep.
travel. If I travel, I actually take
Yeah.
this the ZVE10, and take a couple lenses, and I'm good to go, and some batteries, and I'm all set. But this puppy
Well,
kind
that's
of
where I'm at.
stays
I
right
see
here.
that you're speaking to me on that because that's what I want to leave the 6400 and grab like the ZV-EZ10 and just be able to walk out the door, and that's the thing. It just depends on your workflow, but man, it's not a lot of fun. You talk about person world problems, on streaming, but it's like I don't want to have to break apart my 6400 and take it on, outside and
Yeah.
do all the stuff. I want to be able to grab a smaller camera, some lenses, and go. But over time, that's the thing.
Correct.
You work what you
Correct.
need, and then you start going, well, where are my pressure points that are holding me up from getting things done? That should be the next phase usually.
Yeah.
And she mentions that, and Cher mentioned that the 6400 she got, but it was just a little bit too much camera for her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I get that, I really do, and I'm
Yeah.
glad that she found that with the E10. That's what that was geared for. It was to say, hey, if maybe that 6400 just feels a little bit too overwhelming, here's one for you. And I think they did a good job with that.
No,
They hit.
I agree. I agree. When I started, and you mentioned Diana Gladney, she's going to be on the show coming up sometime in, I think we're trying to shoot up in April for her. But when I started down this journey, I found a lot of our content, and I think if you're just starting, here's some, you guys can chime in too with just some pieces of advice, right? Because everybody will have their own thing to say, Canon, Sony, or full frame versus mirrorless,
Yeah.
all of that. And I think the first question she asked me, because here's what I was thinking of. I was about to get the Sony A7 A7C, right? It
Hmm.
was just coming out, and I was like, I'm gonna get this one. I want this one, and yada yada yada. And she was like, well, and I was talking about lenses, and I didn't put the right lens with the right camera. She was like, well, hold it for a second. That's not gonna work. And I was like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? And she was just like, and then she broke down full frame versus it was an APS-C and all, and I was just like, oh, freaking
It'll
A. I had
work, but it won't be the same focal length.
exactly. And I'm like, holy crap, I have no clue about this stuff. So I just started doing my homework, and I started watching her videos and some other
Mhm.
Curtis Judd. Well, he does the audio plus
Yep.
he doesn't do a lot with
Yeah.
cameras.
Curtis
But
is great.
yeah, Potato Jet,
Yeah.
right? Just
Yep.
doing
Yeah.
doing doing my homework, and I'm just saying that to everybody else who's out here, is that making sure that you do your homework on and figure out your use case, because that's what she asked me. Steve, what are you going to be
Yeah.
using it for? And I was like,
Yeah. So
shooting
that
videos and live streaming and Zoom calls and things like that. And then we walk through that. Go ahead. What are you going to say?
I was gonna say that's the most important thing, Steve, is use case. I mean, you have to realize, like, I'm a tech channel, right? That is trying new things and showing people different products that are out there. And I want to be able to have my hands on a bunch of different stuff and give people opinions. But you're spot on. It's always more about your use case, and that's where having someone that has some knowledge is important. And I just find, like, out here. Like to me, when Cher says this about the ZVE10 and the 6400, it boggles my mind because it's like the same exact menu system. So I just don't really see much of a difference. The only thing that I see really is that
It it could be the weight though.
it's
It could be when she says too much, maybe it just overall size and the weight of it. It does,
well, yeah,
maybe
the ZV10 is definitely lighter, but
Yeah.
the problem is I saw a bunch of people selling their A6400s to get the ZVE10, and for what? Like, I mean, here it comes down
uh,
to is your use case. I don't think people know what their use case is,
Yeah.
and so you need to find out what your use case is. Like, a lot of people don't even realize that the 6400 is a much more robust camera, and that it has a zinc body
body.
to it, and that it's weatherproof,
Right.
so like
Definitely better
people
sealed.
don't know
Yeah.
that you can't take your ZVE10 out in the rain at all. But granted, you need to have a weatherproof lens for your A6400, but the use case, you have to understand that use case.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah, and I think I know what, and I know Cher because she does a ton of streaming and things with on LinkedIn, and I know she was massively. I
I
think
see.
if I'm not, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Cher, but I know you were Canon, if I'm not mistaken, because I know I've been trying to get over to Mac, because she's not going from PC to Mac, so she doesn't like when I have
I
that
wonder if too
conversation.
if she went in with the USB option, right? With the 10.
So from a
So because a
streaming
lot of people,
standpoint, from a streaming
well,
standpoint, because you can stream directly with your ZVE 10 right into. However, there is a little
color
bit of lag with it.
It's 720p
Yeah, exactly.
with
Plus, it it,
resolution.
it integrates it downgrades it a little bit. So I
right.
use it through I use it through a capture card, and I didn't go to and I didn't even, this is super first world problems. I know, and then John showed off his overhead camera, but this is my 850 that I bought when I first
Right.
upgraded to like a camera, and now I use it for my overhead when I do
Yeah, I do the
unboxings and
same.
some other
We have the
stuff.
same
I mean,
setup, Steve.
Yeah, man.
she's
Got it.
saying,
You want to hand
I
it
mean,
over my
she
head?
made a comment. She's using it
It's
for
fine.
streaming, and that makes
Yep.
total
Yeah.
sense. And
Yep.
that's exactly share why I got my Sony,
Yep.
and it doesn't leave here because you don't want to when you're doing streaming a lot, or your goal is to get a camera eventually that you can leave and sit
Yes.
there, and it's a great studio camera. And the Sony ZV-E10 is absolutely the bomb for that. When I want to go outside and I want to have one of the better cameras for walking and vlogging, it's the ZV-1. It is absolutely way better than the
It's
ZV-E10 to
super
go
light.
vlogging with.
It's super
It's
light,
super
right?
light.
I mean, that
It's
yeah, the lens
Yep.
is already there, right? I think that's where the massive change comes, right? With
Yes.
the
Well,
ZV-1,
it's the
of course,
lenses built
it's
into
that
it,
lens
so
piece. Yeah,
you get less of shakiness with the ZV-1 than you do with the E10. The E10 is horrible. It's so shaky footage, and then on top of that, you have the rolling shutter is horrendous. So if you think you're going to walk around in 4K and film, you're not. It's going to be like Jello. Whereas, and people don't realize this, that you're getting a 6K picture, right, and downgraded to a 4K. So that's why if you do a standstill work with a 6400 or a ZVE10, the 4K picture is outstanding, but it's not meant to be moved around side to side. You're going to see everything shake, and that's called rolling shutter. The ZV1, Steve, they don't downsample from 6K. It's true 4K
right,
in
right.
the ZV-1. So you don't get rolling shutter in that. So that's why it's such a way better vlogging camera to begin with, on top of the other things.
Yeah, man.
But
We got a lot of stuff, so I want to go through some of these comments and the stream deck over. So I think there was an earlier comment. I think Cher was
yeah,
maybe talking about the stream deck
Yes.
over the, or she was asking about the stream deck over the Rodecaster Pro. I'm gonna
Maybe some
get into that. I'm
verses.
gonna save that because I'm gonna get into some ancillary things here as well too. But I just want to make sure we go through. So people have started with their phone, doing
yeah,
a lot of different things. Ken talks about he's done over 100 videos with his
right.
iPhone 11. Man, 100 completely. I think that's the other thing too. I think when I in between cameras, I was using my phone, and the quality was actually pretty decent. No one knew. No one knew, and I was doing live
No,
streaming with it, just using it as a secondary camera. No one knew. So I think it's just a matter of sometimes it's our own
Yeah,
inner
it's our
our
own.
inner
You're
tech.
absolutely. Yep. Yeah, because you're like,
The broken
okay, because you're
internet.
hard on yourself. You're like, I want everything to match the quality of this. And it's sometimes it's not that important because what I noticed a lot of times live streaming is that people would be wanting to show an example of something overhead. And then they would be like,
Yeah.
I don't have a camera to show that view. And I'm like, well, you're a live streamer. Why don't you have a camera to show this view? And so I wanted to make sure when I live streamed that I had different cameras set up to show things on the fly because
Yeah.
really right then and there to be able to make that impact, you have that one chance, right, to show somebody. And if you can show them in a live stream, they'll never forget that.
No, agreed. Agreed. Oh man, I started with the
I remember
Microsoft.
that.
Yeah, yeah, the 2008, then got the
Yep.
C920, then learned that I could have been using the DSLR. Yeah, mirrorless. Yeah, for streaming, 100%. 100%. Yeah, and I think that's the other thing. She was like, I had I don't know, a Rebel. It was like a Rebel or something like that,
Oh yeah,
Uh-huh.
sure.
DSLR.
Yep.
And I was, man, I just couldn't get it to work. I couldn't get it to work. And,
Uh,
daughters does photography. And so I got it for years ago. It was just collecting dust. And I was just like, give me that freaking camera. I'm going to try to use it for live streaming. I couldn't get it to work. So that's when I ended up upgrading and, getting some gas and actually, spending some money in there. You have see, I have the Sigma
Yeah.
lens too. And it makes a difference 100%. And John, you have that too, right? So we
I
both
have
have
I have yeah, two of them. Yep.
two of them. I have, yeah, as same here, same. And you don't you, Ja, don't you have a
Yep.
16?
yeah, I have a 16.
Yeah, the 16.
Yeah,
So we're all part of that 16 millimeter. Honestly, the color, the bokeh in the back, a bouquet, however you want to call it, like that piece for me, it just stands you out,
I
makes you
call it the
stand out,
bouquet.
huh? Bouquet,
I mean
bokeh.
we're in such low light. You really don't. You need that. You really got to get that F point. That 1.4. I think a lot just to get the light.
Just to get the
Somebody
light
shows
inside,
real
right? I mean,
and to
because
get that dynamic range.
you just said it, right? Because someone talked about I know we just moved away from lighting, talked about cameras, but like my lighting, John, I think John, you said yours is at 16% or something like that. Like
Yeah, it's low.
these, my
Mine's
lights
low.
here are probably at maybe 9, 10, 11%.
Yeah.
Like that's it.
So
And
yeah,
this
we
is
we pushed the. Everybody's like, "Oh, your ISO needs to be 100." I'm like, "Nah, no. If you really want, otherwise your eyes are just,
I mean,
your
here's
eyes
a,
are gonna
so
burn out."
this is, so this is my ISO at 160 right now.
Yeah,
At 160. Now I can
tells you
boost
how
up.
low your lights are. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
my
So now
ISO
I
is
can
at
boost,
160 right now.
huh?
Yeah, mine's
My
about
ISO is
there.
at 160 right now.
Oh, is it? So
Same
mine's
here.
mine's is a little higher because I'm super dark in here. And so I boosted up. Then now it's right about 800 or
So
something like that.
here's the thing, right? Because if you go back a couple years and you have a camera and say you go from 100 ISO on a crop sensor to say 4 or 500, you will lose dynamic range, and that means that if you look in the blacks of the blacks, it won't be as deep in color and it will lack saturation. And nowadays with these cameras and the 6400s and the Sonys, the dynamic range is so much better. You can get away with having your ISO at 4 or 500. But listen, to get the best look, as always, most people will say to try to keep it as low as possible. So, but if I'm rolling and I want to get a vibe of something different and I want to have it a little darker than usual, which like right now it's a little bit lighter than usual,
Hmm, hmm,
I
hmm.
don't have a problem like having a different one side of my face a little darker, one side a little lighter, or having a darker view. Because you know what? I like to change things up. That's part of the creativity of being a streamer too, where you can set up your background with different colors. You can
Correct.
set up your lighting different. You can have shadows. And so and you know how much like your audience gets involved in that. Like when I started using these LED lights that I have to show off in the back of my room,
Yeah.
they were LED outdoor lights, Steve, that cost like
Yeah.
30 bucks. People went nuts over these things. They bought about like 15 pair of them off of Amazon from me. And it's like, it's simple things like that where people want to have a little cheap way to set themselves apart and it makes a big difference. But you know, it could be $30 to make a big difference. We talked
I
about, like,
have
Jeff
those.
works with shadows. He does a good
I
job
love
with
working with
shadows.
shadows. I think that's one of the
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
underrated thing. And I have the same lights that John has, these little lights and outdoor lights. I think they're perfect for room lights. The only lights I have on right now behind me is I'm redoing my studio. And so I'm trying to keep things minimalistic. But I think that's the other thing is you can canvas with those lights. They're so good with even you can put something in front of them and it creates cool shadows on your walls. And I don't really
Yeah.
have one tonight. I apologize, but I don't know. It's fun to play, and it's not just for everybody else. Sometimes just for yourself. You got to keep yourself
Right.
fresh, right? You know.
Oh, we got special guest.
That's my
Special
Oh,
guest.
wife.
Special
oh no!
guest.
It's time to end this.
How are you
She wants.
doing?
Yeah, man. It's time to eat.
Hi.
You got to go.
But you
Okay,
know,
just
but
there, there was a question here by with Jen real quick, and before we move into like
oh
the
yeah.
audio, but this is a good question. Do people live stream with GoPros?
So the crazy thing is, Jeff and I, if you've hung around us long enough with our live streams, we've gone over all this stuff, right?
Yeah,
So
good question.
what's crazy is, hang about for a little bit, take a breath, and check us out, because man, do we go over some stuff. And
Oh yeah.
I've had this GoPro 7, the GoPro 7 Black, and I've used this wirelessly with an HDMI wireless Hollywood setup and walked around my house. I've set up a live stream with the GoPro and showed people what it looked like. Um, and the GoPro 10 nowadays, Steve,
Yeah.
is the
Yeah.
one to get. The
Yeah.
GoPro 10 is the one to get nowadays. And we talk about people, before I was saying, like, you won't use things if it's hard. Okay.
Right.
A
Right.
GoPro has a way good enough looking picture, and the stability that you get walking around with that is there's none better. You could pick up a GoPro
Yeah.
and use it right off the bat, use it for streaming, and
There's
use
so
it
many
for
things you can
walking
do with it.
around. And it might be
Oh,
one of your best single purchases for someone who's just starting.
no, agreed. Rob Alasalis. I don't know if you guys, most people kind of know him from Tube Buddy, but I know he's made the switch over to Uscreen. And he's gonna be on the show too. He just did a vlog the other day where he had his GoPro. I want to say it was a 10 as well, and
Mhm.
he vlogged the entire day with the GoPro, and the
Right.
camera, the quality was amazing. I mean, it's not like, cinematic and all of that, but
No.
it looked really good, and even the
For
sound,
the
because
size, I
he
mean,
took the sound that came right out of the camera as well too.
mhm.
Right, he probably did some stuff in post or whatever, but for the most part, it came across like, very, very professional, and he did a great job with that GoPro. And also Matt Haas, if you guys know Matt Haas, he's in the
Sure.
community as well.
Yeah.
He just he got his GoPro. I think it was a 10, it was a 10 Black too. He almost got it to match his, I don't know, I think he uses a Canon, but he almost got the colors to, like, when he was switching back and forth, you could barely tell that
Right.
he was going from a GoPro to a $700-800 camera. So the technology nowadays is just ridiculous, man. Just having to make sure you put it in your use case.
Once you go to a GoPro 7 Black, that's when you get the big upgrade in stability. But then also, once you go to an 8 and up, you got to buy a media mod to attach to be able to stream with it. So expect to
Right.
spend another $80 for the media mod to set up to live stream with that. Plus, you get a little bit better audio with that with the GoPro. But it's just one of those things that that here you think you're going to pick up a lot of your cameras to go, vlogging with, and the GoPro just makes sense because you got a great stable picture walking around at your kid's birthday party and this and that.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it just makes
Yeah.
sense, and you got to start making those decisions. And that's the thing, like, listen to yourself. It doesn't have to be $1,000 camera video these things, because if you got more footage by using a GoPro
yeah,
and it makes people happy, use it because
yeah.
it's
Documenting
perfectly
everything.
fine.
Hey, Queen, how are you doing? That's a dope setup, Steve. Thank you, and John. She said. Yes, it's in my studio. ZVE10 is a perfect streaming camera. And then Queen says she's taking notes, John. She's taking notes of your studio
Yeah, I
and
mean,
everything else you got going on. I should be working on something right now. Damn, you guys, this is such a good.
Just gonna lawyer up.
Well, we haven't even gotten to audio yet. We're about to get into audio here in a second too. She's trying to work. Ken says he's trying to work as well. Usually solid go from these guys. Everyday Tech, how are you doing, sir? Good to see you. Good to have you here today.
Patrick.
Oh man, who are these guys in the middle of it?
We know some of these people.
I know, right? Who are these guys, man? Who are these guys? Look at this guy. Look at this guy. Look at this guy.
Brian Paul.
Brian, yeah, there you go. How you doing, Brian Paul? What's up, gang? Good to see you here. Good to see you
How
here.
you doing, Brian?
Original OG right
The rule of thumb is if John has it 90% of the time, Jeff has it too.
Fair. That's actually very
close.
fair.
Oh my gosh.
90%.
Oh my
we
gosh.
live streamed
Not even-
for like 6 months until we figured out that him and myself have the same exact day we got married, like the same day.
Yeah. You guys are like freaking the movie Step Brothers.
It's fun.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
too much.
You
I'm
guys
gonna
are
be Will Ferrell.
you
That's
guys are
okay.
super. Yeah, you're Will Ferrell. You're Will
Or
Ferrell.
Dumber and
What does she
Dumber,
mean by
whatever.
this?
But
What does
if
she
you
mean
can
by
have
this?
one,
Okay.
the stream deck.
One or the other.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, it's a V.
Yep.
Yeah.
All
I'm
right.
going
So
XL
we're gonna
stream
so let's answer this question before we get into audio because this is a
Okay.
good segue into audio. I'm gonna put this back up here, and I'm
Real
laughing,
easy one for me.
and you guys know I'm laughing. You guys know I'm laughing because I got both, and
Oh yeah, of course you did. You hedged.
yeah, and but here's why. I don't know. Okay. Here's why I got both. This is okay. I'm messing with myself. The Rodecaster Pro. If I could be very honest, and I think John knows me because we talked about this a while ago about the whole Rodecaster Pro thing. I got the Rodecaster Pro when I first started back doing audio podcasting, and if I could be very honest with you, it was something that just a whole bunch of other podcasters were getting, and I was like, this is going to be really cool. It's a really cool interface, and I actually like it. And what I did, and here's what I actually used it for. I actually used all the pads on there. I put my intro and my outro and my music and everything on there. So when I started doing my podcasting, I would do my lead in, and then boom, I would hit a pad and it would have my music, and then I would hit another pad and it would have my intro, and then that was it. And then I would go right back to recording. And so I used it for that case. That was my use case for the Rodecaster Pro. Ask me how many episodes I did using it that way. It's probably about 5 or 7. It's probably about 5 or 7. And then I was like, and then I found
So you weren't fully utilizing it.
no, and then I found Hindenburg Journalist Pro for my audio editing, which is outstanding. And then I just started using that. But that was my initial use case. And then when I started live streaming, I started using the buttons for yada yada yada, and that's it. Ask me, have I used the phone extension piece? I probably have when I was using it for Clubhouse and all this other stuff. Saying all that to say is that's why I bought it. Now, and you guys are gonna, and John was already messing with me too a while ago because I was asking him about changing interfaces. So, and I did. When I do my audio podcast, when I do live streaming, I use my Rodecaster Pro, period. But when I do my audio podcasting, when I record my audio podcasting, I use this interface, which is Audient ID4, and the audio podcast just sounds super crisp, super crisp. And I run it through a DBX 286, yada yada yada, and it's just the sound is just super crisp. Anyway, that's my segue. And I do have the Stream Deck, and I use the Stream Deck for my podcast. I mean, for my live stream. So I have the XL, and honestly, I didn't think that I would utilize it as much as I did. and I utilize it all the time. So I don't think I
Everybody
answered
says
your
that.
question, Cher. I think I just showed you that I had a whole bunch of
You're
gas.
waffling. You're waffling.
I
You
am
got to come up.
waffling
You
big
got to
time.
pick one.
I am.
You
I
can't
am.
straddle the
I gotta
fence.
commit. I gotta
Here
commit.
deserves an answer.
I gotta commit.
I'm not saying another word till you say what you're going to choose. Oh, he's sweating. Jeez.
Stream Deck, because I got the audio.
There we go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yep. Yeah. I'm not
Yeah.
selling it. Anybody don't hit me up asking me to sell it. So I'm not selling
Don't
it yet.
DM me on this. I'm not doing it.
don't try to hold me accountable talking about, oh my gosh, are you selling your, I heard you were selling your Rodecaster Pro. I'm not. So don't even do it.
Mine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But John, you sold yours, right?
Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah, you sold yours a while ago. Your Rodecaster Pro. Why'd you sell it?
Just about, I think maybe 2 months ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I got bamboozled because the Rodecaster does nothing that a streamer wants. It just doesn't. Sorry, guys, you got bamboozled. But the truth of the matter is, the Go XLR was the item to get, and I wanted one. The problem was I kept on seeing so many problems with it. So I went for the Rodecaster thinking it was the right thing to get. The Rodecaster is semi-useful for a streamer, but it is hugely useful and versatile if you're a podcaster, though. I mean, literally, to be able to take something on the run, hook it up to a USB power brick, record 4 individuals, bring 2 separate cameras. There's a lot you can do with it as a tool, but as a one-person streamer, the Go XLR would blow it out of the water, and the Wave XLR does also. The routing that you have in those systems are heads and shoulders above, and that's what people don't understand what you can do. When I mention the routing, I think they get lost. They're like, I don't even understand what you're talking about. And you don't know the hardships, and people don't understand when you're in StreamYard that the auto canceling noise reduction that is built into like something like StreamYard or something else, it shuts down that Rodecaster USB output. Like you can't even sometimes play something from your Chrome. We've gone back and forth where it's worked and it hasn't worked. But the truth of the matter is once you get into using a Go XLR and I run Epidemic, I can pull Epidemic right in, kind of like Loopback, Steve, right, for a Mac, right? So once you use that, then you realize how powerful something like a Go XLR was. It was way ahead of the curve for streamers, but it's a tool. And so we talked about what's useful for you. So if something is 50% useful for you and then it works for doing podcasts also, then I get it. But it's
and that's what it was geared towards. It was super geared towards the podcasters, and I think the streamers started to utilize it because of the pads and all the other things that you can actually go into.
There's
workarounds.
And also just for like engagement, right? You know, the sound effects, and then putting things in there. And so, but my initial use case was exactly what it was supposed to be used for, which was to use those pads to put your music, your intros, and all of that stuff. And that's exactly how it was positioned.
But then the Go XLR comes out in December of 2019, the original one.
Yeah.
It did all that more.
Yeah.
But by then a lot of people had already invested. And
it's like I worked in the coffee industry for a while, and I worked for Caribou Coffee. I didn't work for Starbucks. Caribou Coffee had so much better coffee and drinks than Starbucks does. But the fact that Starbucks is so big and it was first in a lot of instances.
People are swayed by
people will go there. Marketing. People will go there. But I'm saying that because that's exactly what happened to me with the Rodecaster. It was positioned really well in the podcast industry, in the market. And so for me, did it fit my use case? I didn't think it even fit my use case. I think I created a use case for it.
That's what we all did.
You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, because it was what everybody told us we needed if you wanted to live stream. And so that was like one of the things. But what people don't realize is that all those tracks, there's 14 tracks on a Rodecaster Pro. You can't pull but one in, which is the USB, which is output 8 on that, which is the USB, and it clumps everything together. So if I want to separate a music channel versus a video channel or my sound effects, it has to be on the pads. I have to pull everything through a pad and I'd be stuck. So it's
you just don't have granular control of all your audio
not at all.
sources with that's the issue. And I ended up, I was a little later looking. I had the option of a Go XLR Mini or the Rodecaster Pro, and for me it was an easy choice because I knew I was more aligned along the single streamer, and I had already been dabbling into using a standalone interface like you normally would. But you have the issue of these audio routing. So okay, we're going to throw a voice meter. Okay, wonderful. That's kind of a garbage. It turns out to be a little bit of a garbage process, even though it's
Yeah.
fantastic what it does and it's free. Um, it's really not a great outfit, and I had a hard time giving up my Go XLR.
Mm.
John and I really had debates early on. I was fighting him on it because of the sliders, and at the time we didn't have the solutions that John and I eventually found, and he's using today with the Wave XLR. Now, if you ask me, I'm like, I love the Go XLR Mini still, but if
Yeah,
you're asking me which one to get, hands down, you would get the Wave XLR. There's not even a question.
that's the
But
Ken's. Yeah, Ken's talking about. I love my Rodecaster for streaming, and then
Yeah, but
shares like
yeah.
I just got one. I just got
No,
it today,
he's
but
not.
I'm sending
it's a
I'm
But here's
sending
the
very
it
thing.
back.
divisive subject, Rodecaster Pro.
If you come from just an audio interface or a USB mic, Steve, these people that are getting these are going to be like, wow, this is awesome. I could do a few more things. But
But
but when you're just truly a streamer, there's a lot more things that the Wave XLR does
Yeah.
versus. But here's the thing: is it what you need? Like me, I can't just have the Wave XLR. I have to have an audio interface also. So I have the Motu M2 along with it. I run my JBL speakers out with those. So there's no like perfect scenario once again. And so if you're getting something, just know what you're in store for. Like I knew what I was getting. I knew
Hmm.
what I needed for streaming. I know what the Wave XLR can do. Name something that can add VST3s to
oh,
it that you
not
can, yeah,
not
that you
Go
can
XLR.
route everything and that you can have like the versatility I have now with the way I piece things
Yeah.
together. But I
For
understand that people,
$150, right? Around 150
yeah,
bucks too. It's
Yeah,
not
now
even
yeah, and now they got the task cam that came out, which is
it
the
doesn't work.
next thing that goes like it's supposed to challenge the Rodecaster Pro and things like that. But I
oh
think Ken's use case right here is probably the best, right?
Right.
When you think
yeah.
about it, when you stream it together or you have a podcast with multiple guests, right? That's the
Oh, it's
ideal
perfect for that.
case for it,
Yeah,
to
but
use the Rodecaster Pro, and I think you get the most out of it when you're actually doing it in that way. So let's
Agreed.
talk about the one that I know that everybody's waiting for, and I know that and people have been hanging around. When I appreciate all of them that they've been hanging around for a while on this one
so
too, and it's been
what's a
cool.
podcast?
That's it, man. That's it. Audio,
No, but what
audio.
is it? Like, what I'm saying is, if you, I'm going to
Go
go
ahead.
back to this because this Roadcaster, right? You have a podcast, but are you just streaming and having 4 people on? Because then why do you need a Roadcaster?
What do you mean? Well, yeah. You can do it. You can do it a couple of ways, right? Because I think the biggest part with the Rodecaster as well is that you can, and I know there are probably other interfaces that you could probably do it, right? But you can of course have the 4 different mics, and then you can bring in people whether it's for Bluetooth, and then you
Right.
can also bring in somebody
Callers.
right from the phone. So
So
now,
is that
to be,
what you're doing?
if I can say that, like and I don't know, Ken, maybe you have, that's a lot. That's a lot of freaking people, on a podcast to begin with, right? That's
Yes.
like freaking
In
4
the same
people
room.
plus 2 other outputs. Like that's a whole bunch of stuff going on, and that's just a lot. That's just a lot. But they positioned it in that context of like, well, you could probably just have 2 people on, and then if you have a third person, they can actually call in, and now you can bring your phone, you can bring the phone in. So they position it in that context, and then the podcast side of it was exactly like I said earlier. Like that's how they wanted us to use it, was to use the pads to pre-install our
Yes.
music and all of that stuff as well.
Yeah, but like what you just said, if you're actually having 4 people sit down at a table and using it and separating the audio from each person in the mic, then that Roadcaster is absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
It is the thing you need to have.
But
What I'm saying is,
you can even
what's your
use a Zoom,
definition of
but
a
you can even
podcast?
use a Zoom Z6, like that has like the 4. It has the
PodTrack 4.
yeah.
PodTrack 4.
The PodTrack 4, but there's also the Zoom Z6 in, I think, or something like that, because I have the 4 that actually has 2 XLR cables, well, inputs. But then there's one that actually has 4, and there's also one that actually has 6. So, and I think they're still all cheaper than the Rodecaster Pro. So if you want to if you are just concerned about capturing the audio and you're not trying to do the video,
Right.
all the other little bells and whistles, and you just want to capture the audio, that's honestly, that's actually my good friend Susie Butcher, she's in the Podcasters Live. She's over in the UK. She records directly into her. She has like a Zoom One that she used that has just one XLR, and
Yeah.
she records right into that. She doesn't even record. I record right into my DAW, but
Listen,
so
you can get a
everybody has a
PodTrack.
different use case as well.
You can get the PodTrack 4, and it costs $219, and it does a lot of great stuff. But once again, it comes down to, right, what is your use scenario? So when I said, when you talk about you're a podcast, like what kind? Because when we say podcast, like people could say that this is a podcast. So do you need a Rodecaster to do this?
Yeah.
Yep. Agreed.
There you go.
Agreed, man. Agreed. All right. Come on. Let's go ahead and
don't get me fired up.
No, you get fired up. We gonna get fired up about mics. We gonna get fired up about mics because you guys are mic junkies. You guys talk all of that stuff about, oh my gosh, just your use case and da 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 da. And then next thing I know, every time I turn around, you guys got freaking brand new mics. So I don't want to hear it. Jeff's swinging in his chair because I'm right.
Yeah, that's true.
Just a use case. It has to be your use case, and then boom, you got the freaking new.
You can't put a mic in front of Jeff. He slaps the hell out of everything that's in front of him.
I am so.
All right, so let's talk mics, because this is going to be the last one of the thing of the day probably. Let's talk mics, man. Because what mic did you guys start with? Let's start there, because I think everybody wants to kind of know that, and then we talk about where you are.
I did a video on the mic that I started with, and it was literally one of the cheapest XLR mics you could get. So I spent $170 on an audio interface, which is the Motu M2, and then I went and bought a BM800 mic. I did a video on it, and numerous times, it's a condenser mic. It's loud. It's got a very loud noise floor, but numerous times, Jeff, right? We've done streams with it, and was in a hotel room, and people always compliment how good it sounds. It doesn't have to be expensive. Spend the money on a decent interface, and then just get yourself a decent XLR mic, and you'll be surprised. But I can't even just say that, because nowadays some of these USB mics are outstanding. We can go down the line with some of the things that have improved, and really the streaming, community has just pushed this type of stuff to the edge. But there's a lot of great mics out there under $100 nowadays, and I've done a few videos on them, and I enjoy the mics.
Yeah. What's the latest one that you guys purchased? Because now you guys have it's not the R20, it's the R320.
Well, our latest ones are the ones that are above right here.
Which one is that?
I personally have an Octava 012.
Okay. And Jeff?
This would be a Shure KSM 137 above me, pencil mic. So it's about, it's going to be about the size of this. I started with this really, really cheap MXL, really cheap. Right. But our current ones, we're flexing out on some overhead stuff to see how that works. Because one of the toughest things to control would be an overhead mic, especially in an untreated room like this.
Yeah.
And the way we're getting away with it, if we want to circle back, is the Wave XLR and the VST3 plugins that we're using, specifically the NS1 plugin, to handle really amazing noise suppression that we all deal with, especially with condenser mics. And did you want me to go through my mic?
Yeah,
journey?
Go for it.
So as a musician and drummer, I've always have the SM57. It's a standard $90 voice mic that you see most of your people singing with or speaking with on stage. And what I ended up doing, and then I ended up with using the SM7B. Oh, I got that right, and
Yeah,
I
you
loved
did.
it. Loved the SM7B, but it was just I didn't over time, I just felt like it was too much of a sock sound, and I
Hmm.
didn't enjoy it as much. Other people's voices sound really good. I think people like you and John, who have naturally low voices, tend to do it better with those type of mics. But if you take an SM81, like a windsock like this is the SM57, and you put this on, it's the same diaphragm. So you end up very close to an SM7B sound. I almost got it. I got within, a few percentage, 15, 20% of making it sound like an SM7B by putting the sock on it, pushing that diaphragm, that back, so now we're pushed back. Like if you look at the SM50, SM7B, the beauty of that is how far back,
The
that diaphragm sits.
diaphragm.
So
Yep.
so I went to there, and then a couple other things I tried, another condenser, the 990. But John and I we invented the pod mic. You know that about us guys. No, we both invested in the pod mic, and John sounded amazing on it. I never was able to make it sound good on
Yeah.
my voice. My voice register just doesn't fit that frequency at all. And
Yeah.
that gets back to your voice is going to dictate your mic choice. Learn frequency patterns, or at least listen. But in the end of the day, like John, I really loved this dynamic mic, which is the 320.
Yeah.
I got it for $180 on eBay. It's brand new. It was used, but it looks brand new. And we both fell in love with it. It's got a nice switch, a bass frequency.
Yeah.
You can switch on and off. And as a drummer, I love this because you can throw this on the kick drum
Yeah.
or other types of percussion.
Yeah.
But
It
it just
sounds
sounds really,
outstanding.
really good.
Dude,
It's
no,
just
seriously. I mean, you guys sound good tonight, but I honestly, I think like when you guys got that one, like it sounded the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I'm
was just
excited.
like, I was like,
Yeah,
no.
it sounds great, but we also our journey is to always like get a little bit better, and
Yeah,
we wanted this sound really good with an out of shot mic. So we've been really working hard to set up things because it's going to improve our videos when we set up things and
agreed.
and then also sometimes you just don't want to have anything in front of you when you're talking about a lot of different stuff, like with an interview, which is it's kind of cool to have some free open space in front of you. But yeah, you'll never get the best sound unless you got like that 320 in front of me sounds way better.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, this is the Octava. The thing that I want to put out there is that a lot of like we talk about this and a lot of people get a Sennheiser 416, Steve. You know what that is. It's
Oh,
Like
yeah, yeah,
$900.
yeah.
so many people spend $1,000 on that and they don't even know what they're buying. And this is what we try to teach people is that you're getting the improper mic for most people. That is a
That's
kind of mic
outdoor.
that you need that is in a treated room and it is
Yeah.
supposed to be treated. You don't buy that mic for someone like an average person like us. This pencil mic I have in front of me was $266 and it sounds outstanding for what it is. And it's going to do a way better job in an untreated room because it's a pencil mic, not a shotgun mic. Most people don't even know the difference.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. Agreed. And I think there's one thing that you both touched upon that a lot of people don't think about. It is, and I know a lot of people they don't think about because they're not trying to maybe go that far, which is the treatment of your room,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
For
Yeah.
me, because I started my first mic. My very first mic that I started with was this puppy, and this is the Rode NT USB Mini.
Yeah.
And I love this mic, but the issue, you guys already know what the issue is the fact that it's a condenser mic and it picks up
Condenser. Yeah.
every freaking thing. And so, at the time I would have to get up super early in the morning to record my podcast when no one else is up. And,
Yeah.
because this picked up everything and because I didn't treat my room at that point in time, my room wasn't treated. Didn't have anything, any acoustic sound, anything, nothing. The rug didn't have anything on there. And, it just picked up it just picked up every little noise. And so and then so anybody who's also thinking about this too, right? You're thinking about your mic and you want to upgrade as well. One of the things that I probably didn't even say this about my Rodecaster Pro was that I utilize milestones within my journey to buy stuff as well. So I didn't just buy it, you know, to buy it. Initially, there was just like with the Rodecaster Pro, when I hit, I think I hit like 1,000 downloads or something like that, 1,500 downloads, and I was like, okay, cool, I'm getting it, and I got it, and then I started using my case a little bit, right? And then when I had this one, I upgraded, and I ended up getting this puppy, right? The Shure some 7B, which I still use from time to time and still use and I still love. But then of course there's the additional cost associated with that, with Cloud Lifter and all that other stuff. Some people don't use it with the Cloud Lifter,
Yeah.
because they can just use it with their interface and actually be able to turn up the gain on it, whatever depends on the interface that you're actually using, with it as well. But I like to use a Cloud Lifter with it. And then I stumbled upon this Lewitt 440 Pure, and I'm loving it. And so, do I have a little bit of an issue? Probably.
You need help.
Yeah.
Probably.
I know the feeling.
You need an intervention.
Probably, but I use them all. I use them. Well, honestly, I don't use the Rode. I'm lying. I don't use the Rode anymore. I just keep it because it was my first one. So there's some sentimental value to it that I kind of keep it as well too.
Yeah, I'm actually going to do that. I have a friend who's he runs a studio here in Milwaukee, and we're going to do it. We're actually going to build acoustical panels for this studio right here. This studio right now is glass, and I guess I'd have to rely on you to tell me how much white noise you're picking up. But if I didn't have the Wave XLR's VST3 plug-in on this, you would hear insane amount. I mean, this glass on these walls right now, there's no rugs on the floor.
Yeah.
And so there, with these type of mics, as you were talking about, it would be impossible. I wouldn't even use it. It would be ridiculous. So,
Yeah, because these are both condenser mics, so we would pick up a ton of stuff in untreated rooms.
I got fans going on up,
Oh
and,
yeah,
and it's amazing. And to John's point, what we wanted to be able to do, we want to be able to take our flow. So we're setting it up now with these type of things out of the shot when we want to use them. So when we do recordings, at desk recordings or whatever, we're going to use these. We don't have to do any real post-production on these like we normally would have to. We can get a sound we want from that mic, set that profile for this setting, and record. Man, we're good to go. Maybe we'll punch a little normalization. Maybe we'll EQ a tad at the end if we need to. But generally, we're going to be set to go. And that's just one less friction point of the production process. And anything you can do to smooth that out is just going to get more things done, because content is key.
Yeah, well, I think you're kind of speaking the language of trying to not just future proof, your setup per se, but as you grow in your journey with your live streaming and your video, right now you start to think differently about the gear that you buy. Right? You start to think a lot differently about, like, what is this really going to make any sense, for what I'm trying to do or where I'm trying to go. And I think we still have some people that try to, just buy. And and here's the funny part, and I didn't mention this one because I don't have it with me. I bought this mic too, and I used it for.
Why not?
I bought it. I know. Shut up, man.
Why not?
I did share. I kid you not. I bought it. So I bought that before I got my Shure SM7B. So because that came out, and I was like, oh, this would be cool. And then I was like, okay, you know what? I got like 2 more clients, and then I bought the Shure SM7B, yada yada yada, and I sold the MV7. So I did, and it is a great mic. It is a great mic, XLR and USB. So it is actually a really great mic as well too. 3 mics is not a problem. Thank you.
No, that's not a problem at all.
That's Luis. Thank you, Luis.
My sound was a bit lower than you guys, so I turned it up. So if your ears are bursting, let me know. But
sounds good.
Apparently, I was a little low. Not at the end of the show. Now we figure it out.
So sorry, my opinion for 2 very good mics that would be a dynamic and a condenser mic for $100 or under, XLR mic, I would pick for a dynamic mic, I would pick the pod mic. And for a condenser mic, I would definitely pick the AKG 120p. Those would be my two picks for mics. That would be $100.
Nice. And then bye. Sounds like Sony. you, you do sound, that's exactly right. But that's what happens though. You try to, you get excited about what you're trying to do. But I think the audio piece is and I think you started on this, John, when we first started out, we were talking about the audio side of things and how do you make sure that your audio quality is actually going to be solid, because you can have the best content in the world, man, but I'm not sure if people are going to want to like listen to you if your audio is kind of jacked
and that
up.
goes back to, like we were saying before, Steve, is like that if someone thinks you sound decent and they listen to you 20% longer because you invested in something that is a direct asset to you, why wouldn't you want to improve that?
Right.
So that's where people get hung up on things like where, oh, I got enough people showing up, but maybe a little bit more would be better.
Yeah.
But it's all relative, and that's the
Yeah.
thing that I always like to point out is we've done this on live streams, Jeff and I, where we're using the worst of the worst stuff we have for a camera, and we're using a good mic setup, and people could I get little messages sometimes from people that watch my videos, and it's kind of funny. He says, like, some people will say, "It's a little creepy, but could you like just talk to me while I fall asleep?" You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah, that is
that
creepy.
voice.
That is
You know, the
creepy.
truth of it is,
compliments on your audio.
well, and we also hear we also see with our ears in this
Mm.
realm. So, and it's not just what we'll develop a sense of, what am I looking at looks better if it sounds better. And then there's a point of perception too, then, of the content. So it has this cascading effect, as John is saying. Is there a percentage of people you're losing because they're perceiving you not to be, and it can be minor, but audio is really important, and you don't have to spend a lot to get really good audio, or really even get good camera. I mean, it's really about, John and I talk about this. The best, the most valuable thing that you have is knowledge. So if you can come armed with knowledge, you're going to save so much money and heartache and time, and all that to me is what matters most. So knowledge is something that is really your biggest asset, I think.
Yeah, well, I think what people fail to realize, and I'm taking this directly from podcasting, is the idea of passive listening, right? So I listen to a ton of podcasts, and do I just sit here in my chair and listen to the podcast? No, I'm actually doing stuff, driving, walking, to the gym, whatever it is. I'm actually doing stuff while I'm listening to the podcast. So the audio definitely has to be 100%. Guess what? When and I love you guys to death, but when I'm watching your live stream, like you're over here on this screen and I can hear you, but I'm over here on this screen doing something else and I'm putting something together. So I'm not just necessarily looking, at you 100% of the time. And I'm
appalled by that comment.
I apologize, man. I love
John's
you guys.
Unplugging and leaving. He's throwing down right now.
Well, John and Cher said the same thing, right? They're probably getting work done. Janae too, right? They're all probably doing different things, but they're listening, and they're passively listening to us, to the content, until we may say something that may, like, okay, we may show something, like you were showing your studio and everything, you guys showing your cameras. Now I'll go back and look at that. But I think that's the other part that people have to take into consideration when they start to think about, the idea of your audio, is the passive listening aspect of it as well too.
Just about everybody's listening, but not everybody's watching. That's the common denominator for most of the people is going to be, I'm listening to this thing one way or the other. I will start there. And then a certain percentage is not watching because they are busy or they're driving. And you have to remember that. It's very true. That's a good point.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, everybody, oh my gosh, what a full house we had tonight. Listen to me. I can go for another.
We didn't even scratch the surface.
We didn't. But I don't want to go. I don't want to go 4 hours.
John's like,
no, I know.
John's like, I'm primed for 4 hours. Come
He
on.
said, John, yeah, John's prime. John's prime for like 4 hours, man. Can you believe we've gone 2 hours though?
It's
fast
it
when you're with
happens to
some
us
skinny
all the
bud.
time, Steve.
We go same. And then Janae says same here. He's been what did he say? He's been listening to the audio for the last hour, driving, getting dinner, and getting the kids to bed because the audio quality and the conversation is on point. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
That's a lovely comment.
But that's the truth though, right? If we're not, the content of the conversation, and this is why yes, you guys are coming back because we're gonna figure out something else to talk about. And maybe we'll talk about maybe we'll go a little deeper. Maybe we'll go a little deeper into that internal tech.
We're going to look at Steve's childhood photos from school.
You don't want to look at that. I actually had hair. I actually had hair, and I
want to see that.
I can't even. I don't even remember what I looked like with hair.
Was it blonde? You had blonde hair, didn't
find
you?
Out.
I had the flock of seagulls. I had the flock of seagulls joint.
Nice.
I'm a super. No, I didn't, but I'm a super '80s kid, as you can tell by me referencing flock of seagulls. A lot of people are like, "Who?" But
I know
really
exactly.
You got it. You got them. You guys get it. You guys get it. Some people are going to be looking it up.
Who that is, man? Who's the flock of seagulls? That sounds like
Steve. Do you know the flock of seagulls? My dad's a professional musician.
Uh-huh.
The flock of seagulls knocked my dad's band out to finish the tour with Hall & Oates. My dad was touring with Hall & Oates.
Yeah.
The flock of seagulls had that hit. RCA Records pulled out my dad's band and put the flock of seagulls in to finish.
Somehow. And
story.
The untold story is how the flock of seagulls car tires are always got knife cuts in them. It's like, Dad, you run around in the car.
I ran so far away.
And the video was dope too for like that timing. Like, it was like the camera was moving and he was playing that, he was,
it was fine. It wasn't Depeche Mode.
Oh, but Depeche Mode's good too. Depeche Mode, NXS, right? Who else? You
guys remember The Alarm?
Sure.
No, hold up. Awesome. They were before YouTube, but they were great.
The Alarm?
Yeah, The Alarm. They're great.
That one's not ringing a bell, dude. And I'm pretty good. I'm pretty on point with my music, man. Were they 80s?
Yeah, early 80s. Yeah.
The Alarm? Were they British? Because that was like the whole British invasion.
They were Irish, I'm pretty sure.
The Irish?
Greenland.
Yeah.
The Alarm. Oh, they didn't sing "Come On, Eileen." You remember that song too, right?
No.
That's something midnight. No,
that reminds me of Prom Night, 1989.
Oh, something midnight.
Yeah,
Dixie not Marauders, Runner. But midnight something.
Midnight Dixie Runner.
Midnight Dixie Runner. There we go. We shall. That's going to be on the next show. We're going to do
11:30 a.m. Dixie Runner.
So, it's just that doesn't work. No. 11 o'clock. Dixie. No, it has to be midnight. And I know there's probably a cool story. There's probably a cool story behind it too.
I'm sure they're doing something at midnight. They shouldn't have been doing.
Yeah, there's so much more to be told. I feel like we never get to the bottom of these things.
I know. Well,
it's a mystery that never unravels, John.
Well, I think I think the goal is always to Kuju Gaga.
You remember that?
Kajagoogoo. Yes, man. Oh Lord,
that's my high school buddy right there. That's my high school buddy.
Vince. I love Vince. I love Vince because I thought I was the only one that could bust you guys' chops and like make myself laugh. And then I was on the stream with you guys, or one of your streams the other day, and Vince was the one. Vince was the one that said he was the one that said about your you're in the bunker.
Yeah.
And I was messing with you about your mullet, and we were just going back and forth, and it was.
Cut the mullet today.
You don't. Thank you, because thank you.
Do you know?
You know what, Steve? I'm sorry that offended you. So.
Do you know that
you lost
that
weight from
Vince
not eating
actually
for 3 days.
And myself went to go see Milli Vanilli?
Yeah.
Girl, thanks, Vince. Thanks, Vince.
Nice. Good for you, man.
Yeah, Milli Vanilli, man. Yep. Come on, man.
Yep. You know it's true.
Yeah.
Great story. You went for the.
Ooh,
I can't believe you admitted going
ooh.
to Millington. Like,
Yeah, oh, geez, man. Geez. What was your first concert?
My
great
first
question.
concert was Michael Jackson in 19. So my dad was a
What?
musician, and you remember JJ? What was his name? The VJ. Remember
From
the VJ on?
MTV?
Yeah, JJ Jackson. That was his name, right?
No.
Yeah,
Was it
I
JJ
think it might
Jackson?
be.
I don't know.
yeah. I think it's
Somebody look it up.
JJ.
Somebody look it up for us.
I'm gonna Google the
Right?
hell out of
Yeah,
that.
somebody
He
Google
was
that.
he was the black VJ when MTV started. He
Uh-huh.
actually gave my dad a ticket for the Victory Tour. And my dad walked me into the gates, and I went into this and went in there. I was 14 years old. Yeah.
Did you
Got to
have
see
did you
the
have like
Jackson.
the leather jacket on, like the beaded jacket or anything like that?
I don't think so. Although at about
Leather
maybe at
pants.
about 12 though, you know, who my dad took me to a soccer game, and we got to see the the Temptations and the whatchamacallits, Four Tops. We got to
Four
see them
Tops.
too.
I was
Wasn't
gonna
the
say the
original
coasters,
people.
4 tops.
Yeah, the
Miss
Four
Michael.
Tops and the Temptations.
Oh,
Miss Michael.
do you miss Michael
missed Michael.
Jackson? Okay, there you go. I
Oh,
got you.
Me
I
too.
was a big
That was a
fan.
hard
You
one to
know, he's
take.
definitely a
Definitely.
super talented musician. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah,
That
Jeff.
was rough.
Jeff, what was your first concert?
Oh my god! I don't even remember. Like, I didn't do
Oh my
concerts
God.
as a
What?
teenager. It would have been, Hall and Oates. Actually, it's ironic. In '80, if you don't remember, HBO did a from the Statue of Liberty being redone around '84,
Mhm.
and we redoing it. And so they had a big concert there with Hall and Oates and Amy Mann opened.
Ooh.
Some Voices Carry. Remember that
Yeah,
song?
yeah,
That
yeah,
opened up.
yeah, yeah.
I actually was doing. I just got back from.
I'm sorry, that was
that was the
horrible.
year I did a symphony thing in Europe, and I came back, and someone was like, "Hey, I got some tickets to go to." So I went to this. That was my first one. So we had to take the ferry out, go to the Statue of Liberty, which was really kind of cool, actually. And there was an HBO. That was my first one, actually.
I
About
just
17.
I actually just remembered my first concert, and you're gonna die laughing.
What?
It was Musical
Muppets.
Youth, those ones that sang
Oh,
"Pass the Dutchie."
Oh yeah.
oh
Oh
my
yeah. Oh
god!
yeah. Oh
Yep,
yeah.
that
Oh
was
yeah.
God.
my stepmom was the graphic artist for the Ritz Theater in New York City. She
Yeah.
got free tickets. It was at the Ritz Theater, and I saw Musical Youth there. That's
Oh, dude,
hilarious.
man. That's
I thought he was going to say Muppets on Ice.
Muppets on Ice. That was that man. And that was a classic song, though. Everybody, didn't matter
Pass
who
the
you were
Dutchie.
or where you were. You passed the Dutchie upon the left hand side, and it was such a good. But it was a politically charged.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't know
It was
that
an
as
earworm.
kids. We didn't know that as
No, we
kids.
don't know.
But as we got older, I started thinking about that song, and I was just like, oh man, my first concert was Beastie Boys and Public Enemy.
Nice.
But very first
I don't think you
concert, and
could
here's
have better
here's
than
the
that.
crazy part
That's
is
a great
that
first concert, man.
Public
That is
Enemy,
awesome.
Public Enemy opened for the Beastie Boys, and so the
Yep.
Beastie Boys, like Public Enemy, wasn't that big yet. I
No.
think it was just their first album.
What venue was this?
Oh, dude, it was in
I
New
remember.
York. And it was Fresh Fest,
I
and so
remember.
this is when all the hip hop groups would all kind of get together, and then like every night there was something different. But this concert, I think they probably had like another smaller group, probably one or two that I just can't remember, but it was Public Enemy and the Beastie Boys, and then Public Enemy opened up for the Beastie Boys, and like, yeah, it just that was
You remember the Underground?
huh?
Remember the Underground? It used to be Webster Hall.
Yeah.
Underground.
Oh yeah.
So at the Underground, I saw the Humpty Dance, the guy,
Oh yeah.
those guys.
Oh yeah. Digital Underground.
I saw Digital Underground at the Underground in like 1987.
Yeah.
I was actually underage. I wasn't even supposed to be
Oh
there. I
my
was
God.
underage.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. I was 16, maybe, or something like that. I can't even remember. I can't even remember. But it was an experience because it was the very first concert, and we had pretty decent seats too, which was actually kind of cool. And but just hearing them, play and just
Oh yeah, it's
you
amazing.
know,
The
I
Beastie Boys are
discounted one.
That's
I
oh,
discounted
Beastie Boys,
one because
they're doing stage diving and
I had to
all
take
of
my
that
sisters to
stuff.
concerts, so I had to take them to Duran Duran, and I went to Atlanta and watched Power Station.
Oh, nice,
Uh,
nice.
that's pretty cool though.
that was actually pretty good.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Yeah.
at the time, I was so mad that I was being forced to go take my younger sisters to Duran Duran.
Duran
Now I'm like,
Duran
it's kind
was
of cool looking back,
huge.
but at the time, I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah,
Now,
Duran. And that's like almost when Wham came out though, right? Because that was
yeah.
it was when they came out too. It was like I think my sisters went to go see them, and
Yep.
they wanted to take me. I'm like, I'm not going to see Wham. I'm like, I'm not going to see Wham.
Oh, I tell you, now I wish I had.
Now I wish I
George Michael's just insane.
now I
talented,
wish
like,
now I wish I would have
Yeah.
actually gone to be able to tell that
Super
story. I
talented.
actually saw Wham in
Yeah.
concert.
I
You
saw
know.
them when they were.
I think
Wham.
Kaja Google opened up for him.
That makes sense.
That's-
You shy to shy.
I mean,
hush, hush.
dude, listen to me, man. I mean, Friday night videos was like the thing. You know what I mean? Now kids are spoiled, but to have to wait to like Friday night to like watch videos, and then also growing up in my era, when hip hop first started, they didn't play it. It wasn't mainstream. You actually had to wait till like 9 o'clock at night, sometimes 10 o'clock before they played it, because it was like they were like, "What is this? This is not. This isn't music. This is
Funk
blasphemy."
Master Flex.
Yeah. And then at
People
10
lost their
o'clock.
minds, man.
Oh, what is okay, then we got a question here. What's your favorite song? Oh,
Good God.
My favorite song.
gosh.
Song. I mean, when I'm lifting weights, when I'm crying because my soap opera's done,
When you're trying to
when there's
figure
no
out
ice
who
cream.
killed JR, right?
Wait. Yeah, when JR was
Just a
killed.
good
and I
old
didn't know-
boys.
Just good old, oh.
Good old
What's
boy.
I don't
my
know.
favorite
Mixed up.
song? Oh gosh.
That's
Yeah,
I don't think I have a favorite song.
That's good. Because
It's
it would
like
be
what you
based on
said, it's
mood
like-
for me.
I got I got songs that like, that'll pump you up.
Yeah.
And
And that changes,
That song
right?
"In Your Eyes" though from Say Anything. Remember that movie
oh no, hold on. In your
when he holds up the John Cusack holds up the boombox over
Yeah.
his head.
Yeah. Oh no. I know what you're talking. You're talking about one of my favorite movies. You're talking about Breakfast Club.
No.
Say Anything.
No.
They'll say anything. Oh, well, Breakfast. I'm sorry. Breakfast Club is like one of my favorite songs. So I think
That's
if
the
I
track on that.
yeah, that
There's a lot of good tracks on that. Too.
yes. Yes, the last one, right? You know what I'm talking about.
I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
All of a sudden now you got Steve Winwood in my head too. Like I was
Yes.
I grew up
I love
digging
Steve Winwood too.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Oh man, but no, I love, that's my favorite movie, and I own it. But whenever it comes on, I
Palmer.
watch it. Robert, oh dude, my goodness,
I remember that. Yeah.
Robert
Oh, yeah,
Palmer.
Palmer.
Come on, man.
Oh yeah, Robert Palmer.
But
Yeah.
dude, I was listening. I'm from Jersey, so I was definitely listening to
Where you
Big
from?
Daddy
Where you from?
Kane.
Oh yeah,
You know.
oh yeah,
So
yeah.
we were,
Yeah, Jersey was in a Jersey, man. Jersey has some. I mean,
Boogie Down Productions.
oh BDP,
Yeah.
man. But
Yeah.
Jersey has some good folks, man. Poor righteous teachers, Naughty by Nature. Gosh, they sing Chief Rocker, but because that's my. I mean, I love music, hands down. Love all types of music,
Yeah, me
but
too.
growing up
Mike
in the
McDonald.
Michael McDonald. Come on, man. Hall and Oates.
Enough
Somebody
of
you
that.
mentioned Hall and Oates earlier.
Hey,
Like-
that's some good
Awesome.
stuff, man. I
Awesome.
like Hall and Oates actually. Good stuff in there, man.
There's a whole bunch of good. I mean, the favorite song. That is so hard, dude. Like,
It's ridiculously hard. Yeah. I mean, that's hell. Sometimes I want to pull up, a little Igor Stravinsky. Let's put on some Firebird Suite. Sometimes you want
Oh.
to just listen to some classical music. Come on, man.
man, I mean, working out and listening to Rat, or something like that.
Oh,
Jesus.
AC/DC or something
Round
like that.
and round.
Yeah,
John's
man.
John likes pour some sugar on me when he's lifting heavy weights.
Yeah, yeah,
That's his
yeah.
Def Leppard. He does a little bit of the.
Pour some sugar on me
He's probably
in the
400
name
pounds.
of love.
Pour some. And he's
One
singing in
more
the.
rep. Get one more
He's
rep.
yelling in the gym. Pour some.
Yeah,
Everybody's like,
yeah.
what the hell is
What's up,
going on with this
Andy?
dude?
This is Andy. How you doing, man? He says you men are looking and sounding so damn good, almost dude
Men.
like.
Well, we
Using
pulled
that
the tech
loosely.
stuff off, Steve, because we really suck at tech. So
Yeah.
we're much more funnier in person. That's what we're good at.
In person.
I mean,
Yeah.
favorite. I mean, I guess the next question that somebody is going to ask is why, if you're out there, ask us a question, but don't make it too hard. But like your, favorite band, right? That's like
Man,
almost
that's
like as hard as
impossible,
your
man.
favorite
You
song.
can't.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't have a favorite band, man.
It's just too
favorite
many.
band is too tough. Yeah.
I just love
It's
too
too
many,
tough.
and I love all types of music. Like, you know what I mean? There's great rap. There's great.
Yeah.
Actually, there's great country. There's great, pop. I mean, go on and on and on. And
I
hair
was
bands.
exposed I was
What about
exposed to a
disco?
lot though, because as a
Yeah.
young person, my dad was in a rockabilly, he was in a punk band, he was in, he opened up for Kiss at the Palladium in 1980.
Kiss.
So like my dad exposed me to a lot of music from when I was listening to Johnny Horner when I
Oh my
was
God.
like Jeff knows who Johnny Horner is. Probably it's like I was 8 years old, and
Yeah.
that's like from the 50s. So
Man. Oh my
So-
gosh. All
Did you
right,
guys get into
man.
Queen? I gotta ask you, did you get into Queen at all? I didn't at the
What?
time. As
Queen,
I got older,
oh.
I started appreciating them more later in life than I did actually.
Yeah, me
early
too.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that Bohemian Rhapsody, man. I think,
Oof. The story
Queen
is
was big
interesting.
though, 78, rock,
Oh, you
we
think?
will rock you. They were always there.
yeah.
So
Yeah, they were like super anthemy,
Very
right?
anthem.
exactly.
You know what I
Could
mean?
run a
Like they
crowd.
like almost it would be like empowerment today. Like their music
Yeah.
would be,
Agree.
kind of like social empowerment type of music. And my favorite song,
He's still thinking of it. He's trying to
my
come up with
favorite band
favorite song.
was Emmett Otter's Jug Band.
Don't listen to him.
I was like, okay, see, I was like, dude,
Don't
like,
fall into
like-
Vince's. He's waiting for you. He's like, your guard is down, and you're putting that stuff on the screen. And he's like, I got Steve.
he got me.
He said,
No, man.
I'm
I
gonna
know.
throw
No,
him into the
I
ditch.
listen to me, man. It is all good. It is all good. Like I'm just gonna put stuff up, and I'm not gonna read it. That's it. Like this one, Andy just put that one up there. So there we go.
Dude, we had a lot of people come out tonight. That was awesome. I want to thank everybody who
Yeah.
came out and say
Absolutely.
hi to us and Jeff. And we had people from like the resellers, eBay
Yeah.
resellers group. We had people from
Tommy's
the
group.
Bearded group. They run YouTube
Yeah,
channels.
we did.
And just want to thank everybody that Steve's community also that came out. It's wonderful.
No, I agree. I agree. You
That's
guys
a
got any
wonderful-
closing words?
great question.
Wisdom?
Yeah, start
Wisdom?
your YouTube channel, start your podcast, start what you need to start. Stop watching people do things and looking for the right answer. Just get out there and start doing. Don't be afraid to find people and ask questions and find a community to surround yourself with. One of the hardest things to do in this YouTube group is to find people that will give you honest opinions about feedback. You will not get it here because everybody wants to win in the end. So when you have someone that will be truthful with you, hold on to those people, make them your friends, support them like they support you, have their back, and move forward with crushing it because it's all capable and you can all get it done if you put your nose to the grindstone, man. I think and it can be fun along the way. We can have a lot of fun.
Agreed. Hi, Mr.
Yeah.
J.A.
Yeah. Look, I agree with all that. And my only take on it is you start, but I mean, start with being kind to yourself and being okay with, as John says, stop looking what everybody else is doing. I just a big fan of being okay with moving a small pebble at a time a day and being okay with that. That will build your mountain. And just don't try to build the mountain in a day. Just keep moving one pebble. Be okay with that. Be kind to yourself. And it's really important. We use the term stream buds on our group. It's like tribe. Find the people that surround with that can be honest with you about your not what you're good at, but also what you're not maybe so good at the moment, and trust in that. But find people that when you have those bad days, when you have those tough moments, we all get them. find those people that you can give you air into you a little bit, can lift you up. And I just think it's important. You don't have to do this alone. There's plenty of groups, plenty of people out there to connect with, to find. And I think that's one of the most important resources we can find are people who are going to be with us to go, you know what, you're okay. I hear what you're saying, but
Yep.
yeah, go with that, just start there.
Agreed, man. Agreed. Oh, what's going on, Dr. Elo? How you doing, sir?
Hey, Dr. Elo.
Thanks for tapping in. Tonight we've been going for about 2.5 hours
That's all.
already, which is just crazy. And I'm stoked, man. Yeah, we got to do another one of these, and we'll get it all figured out. I want to thank you both for your continued support for things that I put out there, and this journey that I'm on, because to your point earlier around having people that will support you, but also say, no, that's stupid, or like, hey, well, don't do this, or hey, take this advice. I appreciate, your feedback and your thoughts and things that you have given me along my journey, right? Because I think it's just important. I think I learned from everybody. You share information, and I really wanted you to come on here was to kind of show people, you're not just the content side of what we do, but the human side of being a content creator. Because to me, I think that's more important than a lot of times. I know we talked about the gear, but it was almost kind of like a bait and switch, because the gear was just the gear was just like the that was like the icing on the cake. I think the conversation and everything that we had before was exactly what I wanted people to take away. Yes, did we talk about the gear and give them some really good ideas? 100%. But I think we were able to let them know that the gear piece is only as good as who you are as a person and what you're trying to do and what you're trying to get across as well. So I appreciate you guys for coming in tonight.
Oh, very honored to be here. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for having us. Yeah, love to do it again. And it's always a lot of fun. I
Cool,
appreciate
man.
you.
We'll stay backstage for a second real quick while I close this puppy out. All right.
Absolutely. Perfect.
Oh, everybody. Wow. 2.5 hours. And I knew it, right? When I scheduled it with these dudes, I was like, yo, we're gonna go for a while. I was like, I blocked everything off. I have do not disturb on everything except for like the notifications with everything, because I knew we were gonna go long. And I wanted it to go long. I really hope you got a really good understanding of, this is really truly the essence of what Podcasters Live is about, is trying to connect with people and help you have a better understanding, a little bit more about who you are. So that way your content can be more authentic. And then the goal is to take either your podcast or your content creation and then figure out how you want to do live streaming with it, so that you can grow your brand, so that you can grow your audience as well. We want to thank you for being here tonight. If you want to reach us, you can actually go right to podcasterslive.com. If you want to be a guest, there's a sheet for you to go ahead and fill out, or you can shoot me a DM if you're in the Facebook group. One of the last things we do, if you're looking at this on the replay, make sure you go and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, so that way we can kind of grow and impact more people along their podcast journey. We want to thank you guys for coming out tonight. We learn together, we grow together, we podcast together, but most importantly, we go live together. Thank you guys for stopping here, and I appreciate you guys. Have a great night. God bless. Dudes.
Yo.
Dudes.